All right, so let me introduce you to the 2022 Christmas ideology. And this is a snapshot. There's a whole other crate here and a whole other box here of stuff for ideology. And I love just seeing it. Of course, I love just to see the muffin tin. That's not new. I brought out the muffin tin many times. Ideology is just a really great collection of stuff because it has all sorts of different random elements. One of the things that I want to call out, these are seasonal products. There's many of the products that are not going to be coming back next year. I know that already. I've already decided that. This is one of those things that I get to decide what comes back or doesn't. So there are things that I'm just not going to bring back just for the sake of I want to do some different things. So I'll try to talk about things that aren't coming back, but I'm not going to publish a list. I'm not going to get on there because I always feel that the chat totally derails when I talked about something not coming back. Instead of celebrating what's available, everyone just starts drying their tears of what's not coming back. This is all available right now. This was all released this year. So if you see anything you like, stock up because it may or may not come back next year. And maybe you have some stuff from last year that you can incorporate or previous years into your makes. All right. So this is kind of the general setup. I have talked about the muffin tin. This is how I love to approach seasonal making. I love to have a muffin tin or some sort of compartmental thing where I can have all of my embellishments and findings out just for the season. It's easy to grab stuff, it's easy to embellish stuff, but it's also great to look at. So, but for now, I'm going to clear this out of the way, clear the props, right? Clear the little opening shot, and I'll put this stuff here. I'll bring it back in as I need. Okay, there you go. See, just a couple of little things. Smoke and mirrors, guys. A couple little greenery pieces in there. We're going to talk about what product we have for this year. Now, I'll also talk about, as we go through things, right? As we go through things, it's going to be really important to note that in addition to working with seasonal, the makers do such an incredible job working with a lot of the everyday products. And I say everyday products because we have structures, foundational elements that are in our everyday line, vignette boxes, vignette trays, panels, all sorts of different type of things, journals, like fabric journal folios, clipboards, all of those things that are going to be really important as foundational elements. So it's not just all seasonal. The nice thing about knowing about ideology is that we really try to develop products that will work well together and will work with other things. So now that I just dumped that entire box of stuff here, I have no way to work. Well, story of my life. Here's how we go. Because I'm gonna fly through it. How about, well, he keeps laughing like I can't do things quickly. I can. Can you throw a crate there? Thanks.
Sure.
All right. So let's just start talking about paper. First things first is paper. And now some of this stuff is a repeat from previous years. Nothing changed. Some things we have updated the art or the cast of things. I'll try to mention that as needed. But again, hopefully you guys have already used up all your stuff that you bought last year. So all of this will be new. But we'll talk about backdrops. A great paper collection, double-sided paper, 6x10, simply because I don't want to create a mainstream paper, an 8.5 by 11 or 12 by 12, because this is designed to be a backdrop, a foundational piece, something that goes in the back of a tray, the back of a mini book or junk journal that you could cover up. So the cool thing, of course, about this, it's all inspired by vintage elements, everything from game cards. You'll see gift wrap, boxes, ledger pieces, some really great plaid. We go everything from scanning in lunch boxes to tins. There's fabric. There's so many wonderful things, and this is really where Chris can take the most horrendous art that we give him. Like this old little tag that's like this big, and he makes it look amazing at such a larger, beautiful scale. But you'll see that the color is just absolutely unbelievable in this paper. I love the fact that you guys have embraced backdrops, that we've been able to create this as the paper for ideology. I know that scrapbookers are like, I wish you would do 12 by 12. Look, there's enough people out there doing that you can use those as foundational papers and then use these backdrops still with that type of making. So all the paper designs that you're going to see in a lot of these makes really come from the backdrops. We have updated some of them, but of course we've kept a lot of them the same because they are your favorites. Worn wallpaper scraps. This one, again, just great seasonal elements. We've got just some beautiful things. This is, although we call it wallpaper because of the paper texture that this is all inspired by vintage gift wrap. So here you're going to see some some great repetition of gift wrap, but there's also some scraps. So these are die cut pieces out of the same wallpaper type of material. And then, and I say material, but it's paper. And then of course we have some trims. Beautiful aesthetic to it because I love the texture on here. And this again is where, man, we have some of the most incredible product because not only down to the detail, but down to the quality of the substrate. And that's where Tracy comes in. It's like, yeah, we'd like someone that could manufacture wallpaper for us without the paste, right? Or pins or sparkly stuff. So gosh, it's amazing. Every time I see this on, I'm just amazed of the variety of stuff that we create from a single brand, right? Most brands, you know, you kind of stay in your wheelhouse. You do paper or you do, you know, stickers or chipboard or ink. But in this case, we've got everything from resin to metal to pins and trims and boxes and charred things. And I know Tracy's rolling her eyes. So here, I love these. These are pocket cards. So these paper cards, these are double-sided paper cards. They're absolutely fantastic for quick cards, junk journals. If you are a scrapbooker or if you do December daily, these are sized to work with Allie's page pockets. I reached out to Allie probably a couple years ago now and said, hey, what are the sizes of like those pockets that you normally do for your December daily? And she completely embraced the idea of, you know, designing a vintage aesthetic that would work. Certainly you don't have to use them for scrapbooking. Like I said, they're great for even card fronts, but they're all double-sided. They're unique. There's also some journaling spots for stamping, for collage. It's just really great. This is the same weight of cardstock as the backdrops, so it's still going to be double-sided. These have rounded corners, so they also make really nice things for the card files and areas that you're going to see the makers use them in. Then we've got our sticker book. Man, it surprises me every year how many stickers we sell, but stickers are nice. I mean, well, they're nice if they're done right. Let me just say that. So this has been revised. We do have the clippings, so these haven't changed because we do love the clippings. These all came from vintage books, all Christmas, winter type of clippings. But now we did these seals. These are great. They've got that great little pinked edge. Very perfect for the outside of an envelope, right? The front of a card, maybe to seal up a gift card envelope. We did kind of like I'll just say like a washi tape looking trim, if you will, but these are stickers. Again, this could go on the bottom of a card or a journal or the back of an envelope. Then we've got some die cut elements. These could go on file folders. Maybe you have stuff from chapter 3 and you're looking for some tabs to go on the file folders. Some labels, some stars, a couple of die cut elements, some numbers, and some labels. Just a nice book, but again, something new, something different. These came back, the label stickers. So these are plastic and they have that raised letter, 2 sheets of the same, perfect for quick Christmas cards, right? Instead of stamping a sentiment, you can just stick one of these right on there. I love that whole vintage label maker look. And believe it or not, this kind of style, even though I know it's black and white, really goes well with not only a vintage aesthetic, but also a very modern and colorful vibe as well with these stickers. So I do love label stickers just because they are plastic and they are that raised, you can feel that texture. Very cool label maker. Remnant rubs. So remnant rubs, I wanted to do something a little different for this year. I love doing rubs. I hope we can continue to do rubs for a while, but you know, you never know. They sell less and less every year, I'm being honest. And I don't know if it's because people are over rub-ons or they just don't use them because we pack a significant value. So there are 2 sheets of this, 2 of the same sheet on this particular set. Sometimes there are 2, I looked at the back because sometimes there are 2 of the same and sometimes there are 2 different ones. In this case, it's 2 of the same. You have a whole assortment of different words and stars. Again, these will work on file folders or small tags or cards, great for quick gifts. But the nice thing about remnant rubs is they work on all sorts of things, from metal to plastic to glass to wood, even fabric. If you are going to use them over ink, always remember, if you're using these over distress ink or oxide, you need to dry that ink surface first with a heat tool. You need to heat set, even though distress ink is not a permanent ink, any of your ink, you always want to heat set because that's going to dry the resin. Because often people try to ink a card or do a background and try to get a rub-on and they're like, oh, the rub-on's not transferring. It's just because when it comes to that resin, it won't stick. But if you heat set the ink so the resin's dry, these will transfer beautifully. I love the whole postage look. Again, this was all inspired by chapter 3, right, that we did for Sizzix, where we've got the little envelopes, the little file cards. That's where my inspiration came to design this year's Christmas set, because I think these elements would go perfect with that to do little cards and tags for the remnant rubs. All right. Then surprisingly, these came back. Now we launched this for Halloween, And we actually have 2 SKUs for Christmas. This is a one and done. This will not come back next year. This was actually something we did a couple years ago, and people asked about it. We brought it back. These are called deco sheets, and what it is, it's a thin vinyl. Okay, not like an E-cutter vinyl. It's thin, so you can use a punch through it. You can also use die cuts. If you use a die cut, I do recommend like a precision base plate or a multi-pass on that. But this is a sparkle that could be adhered to stuff. It's not a glitter. It's printed actually that way. Okay, let me just open up a pack just so you can see it. Okay, my advice, if you're going to use this for die cutting, because I've seen a couple of people talk about it online. I don't die cut it in its sheet like this, even though it's got a paper pack. You can see it's super thin, right? Because it is just a vinyl. It has no texture to it, although you would expect it to be textured. It's wonderfully sparkly. The reason I love this surface is because when I go to use it with a die cut, I will peel this off and stick it onto a piece of cardstock, whatever cardstock I like to die cut from, whether that's, you know, heavy stock or whatever it is that you want to die cut with. I put this on the cardstock first. To me, that gives me a cleaner cut on the first pass, right? Because it's thick enough that that die can just kind of chomp through it. That's really how I use these. I don't like to die cut it by itself and then try to peel it off and stick it on there. I would rather put this on a piece of cardstock, die cut it, have a nice sparkly die cut, and then glue it down. That's just the way I prefer to do it. The nice thing, of course, about deco, because it doesn't contain any glitter, is that even very detailed words and even embossed elements, you get perfect crisp detail because you don't have any flecks that kind of hang off the side. So that's just what I do. So like I said, we did a set for Halloween. We did 2 for Christmas. This one is traditional palette, kind of like a nice vintage gold, a green, and a red. And then this beautiful winter palette. Now, as much as I said I wasn't going to go through it, I'm going to be quick because I'm not going to let Mario be right about that, right? But I will be quick. Okay, so this winter set has silver, but then it has these 2 beautiful blues, right? This really wonderful soft turquoise color and this wintry icy blue. So that's the set, the winter and the traditional. Can you alcohol ink this? Yes. Can you stamp on it? Yes, with archival. Can you run it through an embossing folder? Oh my gosh, it rocks. If you stick this on cardstock and run it through like a 3D embossing folder, you get that beautiful embossed design and you still get the sparkle because again, it's not glitter, it's printed like that. So those are the deco sheets. Then we've got, well, I'll save that little trinkety bit. Let's get into some papers because I do love that. Collage tiles, we did this. These are just small little squares. You get 2 each of these squares. They're 1.5 inch squares. These work on vignette panels, vignette trays, perfect for cards. This year we kind of updated these collage tiles to not only include the collage. These are collage pieces that I did use distress crayon and scan them in, but we also have some photo tiles in there. We also have some kind of snippets of the backdrops, right? So you'll see, yes, some tartan. Mario recognizes that plaid. Little candy sticks. So there's a whole variety of stuff. You'll see how these are used. Quite fun. Tartan. Christmas ephemera. I do love the ephemera. Ephemera, of course, we've created this ephemera pack with different scales. So they have some large pieces and some small pieces. Not for everything in there. So not everything has a large and a small. But anytime we found that there would be an element that maybe you'd want a little bit on a smaller scale, we put those in there. So you might see some duplicate pieces of different scales. So we're kind of merging the ephemera and the ephemera snippets, which were small pieces. So this has been updated as well. Just a huge value, 82 pieces of happiness in there. Totally love ephemera. Then we've got paper dolls. Now paper dolls, of course, this is like, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff in here. 69 pieces, but not only do we have paper dolls, but we also have the wonderful snapshots in here. Some of my favorites. I do love the fact that we were able to incorporate some photos. There's even in here, let me just see if I can find them from the back of the packaging. I can't, but there you go. There's a couple of photo booths in there. They're hidden in there, but there's also those small little square photo booths. So you'll see those. I got to find the photo because I do love these photos, right? Paula and I look for photos. Paula more than me. Paula's like 24/7 looking for vintage photos, but how fabulous are these that you can use? They have a wide edge on the snapshots because if you have the tonic decal trimmer, we wanted to give you enough of an edge that you can use your decal trimmer and trim the edge to really create that authentic vintage photo. Or not, you can write on it or stamp on it or do remnant rubs on there. Ah, this is the one. Take a look at this one. This is one of my favorites. This is an actual photo, but this is not what the photo looked like. It was absolutely in horrible shape. things were misplaced, and Chris created this magical, perfect vintage photo of this tree lot, and I couldn't love it more. I love that. That is Christmas right there, the tree lot. Anyway, beautiful. Yeah, look at the tinsel, that tree, right? As a kid, where you just ran up to the tree and just threw it on, and your mom get mad at you. That would be it. So a lot of great things always in the pack of paper dolls. We do like to change it, so it's really, really good. Ephemera is the non-glossy one, and ephemera is thinner, and it's a thinner like the backdrop. So it's still cardstock, but it's not coated. All these other pieces are coated paper dolls, and also layers. So layers, believe it or not, we did 2 layer packs this year. We don't normally do that. We won't be doing that again because it is a big undertaking, but we found some art. We actually found too much art, and Paula and I were going back and forth. She's like, I want to do this, but I want this. And it's like, okay. I asked the team at Advantis if we could do it. Tracy gave us a thumbs up. Chris spent the hours to do it. So we have 2 different layer SKUs. So of course, layers are the thicker coated surface, just like paper dolls, but 2 packs for Christmas. One is just called Christmas. That's going to contain all of that wonderful vintage magic, including some box tops. So these frames also fit the vignette boxes that you can use as a box top. It doesn't have the side flaps, but some great frames. There's some foundational pieces, some die cut numbers, cool pieces in this. And then we have Christmas botanicals. This entire pack is nothing but beautiful Christmas botanicals. Different wreaths, holly, poinsettia, these great backer cards that came out of vintage botany books, very cool pieces, some die cut pine. And these pieces, of course, when I say die cut, look at the detail of that. This is where Chris has to go in and create die lines and create bleeds, because we didn't want a white edge around things if we could avoid it. Some things, like obviously a pine branch, you can't get away with because they can't cut in between there. But any of these other pieces, like the flowers and the holly, we cut right up to the edge so you don't have that white halo. So beautiful. So yeah, these won't be coming back like this next year. But it is nice to know that if you just love botanicals, you've got that option, or if you just like traditional Christmas elements, you have that option as well. And Paula's hearing about this for the first time, so she's probably cringing or shaking her fists at the TV right now as she's watching this. So these are the baseboards. So baseboards, of course, are also coated, but this is a coated chipboard. So these are chipboard pieces. So the whole baseboard idea are chipboard elements. There's wonderful frames. There's that little slide negative doors, right? We did this for Halloween. Take a look at this red door. You're going to see great makes for Christmas. Some trims, the pointy finger, of course, because we need to have that. The stars, right, Vicki? We need that. And just some cool elements. And these are really nice because these create nice foundational pieces if you want your paper doll to have a place to stand or sit, but also create ledges or shelves. You'll see these used so many different ways. And then, of course, there's also some quote chips in here for Christmas. So just a few of those that we would normally do separate. Kind of like this idea of having things mixed together to give you more of a variety. I do love baseboards. Love them. Okay, let's go into this. Might as well. I got to clear the deck here a little bit. Kind of crazy. So trims, this year we kind of went pretty crazy with trims, and I would say that the trims are not going to come back next year. I can tell you that as well. So these are going to be a one and done. And truth be told, Tracy's probably learning about this for the first time as well, because I'm just making the decisions on the fly. I went through and I saw what makers used, how we used it, and how much is here that I don't think you're going to need it for another year. So it's a one and done. This one, bye-bye. Fringe. Bye-bye. I do love fringe. This is made out of crepe paper. We did this for Halloween. It came in black. I love this cream. This is a stitched crepe paper fringe that you can, and you'll see how the makers use it. You take it off of this piece. You can ink it. If you're going to ink it, I would recommend like using a brush or blending tool versus getting it wet. You can get it wet, but it just kind of loses its little wrinkle crepeness. Then once you cut it, crepeness, then you're going to stitch through, it's already stitched through, you're going to go in and wrinkle it up, and then it will create this beautiful fluffy fringe. You're going to see in the makes how this is used. I love this. I think this is going to not only be great for Christmas, definitely for Valentine's Day. Beautiful to go around the edges for Valentine's Day or Easter. So that's why we wanted to do a cream color that could be, you know, used throughout the year if you really love the paper fringe. Then we have pine twine. So pine twine we did years past, but this one's a little bit fluffier. I wanted something that just had a little bit more heft to it. You're going to see why. This works really well with tiny lights. It's just a wired pine. You can make wreaths with it. You can make garlands with it. You get a ton of it too. you get 4 yards, and that's 4 yards. That's a lot, right? It's 12 feet. It's plenty of stuff. So this is really cool stuff that you can glitter, you can put mica on it, you can do any of that. And then we have this giant holiday chia pet, which is Tinsel. I wanted this so bad, so thank you, Tracy, for finding it. Really, we wanted something like this for years. And now that we have it, it's only going to be here 1 year, and then off it goes. But the nice thing about the Tinsel is that it is actually wired. Okay, so it comes around this card. Let me see if I can find the end really quick. Probably not. It's usually tucked. Nope. Well, because I'm on, there we go. All right. It is a wired Tinsel. So the great thing about this is, yes, you can make a wreath out of that. You can do all sorts of things. You can alcohol ink it, you can trim it. So you're going to see how the makers use this so many different ways. But I wanted something wired because most of the Tinsel is just on a string and it's pretty lifeless and hard to work with. I also wanted that had a slight antiqueness to it. It still has that beautiful silver shine, but a nice antique look to it. You'll see what I love about Tinsel. But again, one and done. Same thing, 4 yards of it, so you get a ton. A ton. I do love it. So those are kind of the fringe elements. Then we've got some things that have made returns. So these are ones that come back. Who knows if it's going to be the last year or not? I haven't decided that yet. These are icicles. So these are plastic icicles. I like these because you can add them to elements. You just grab these from my little tray, right? So they're plastic. They're really thin. So they're flat backed. You can glue them over photos or on pages or in the baseboard windows. You can also add a little bit of glossy accents and rock candy and create that little wintry glitter. So the difference between these is just a little glossy accents and rock candy and create a nice sparkly icicle. Those are fun.
Those are legit.
They are. They're very icy. We have big ones in the house. We've shown that in our Christmas tour. That inspired that SKU. Then we have wood slices. So wood slices, these are real wood. That's why it has a little silica pack in there to keep them all dried out. Really nice. It has a great slice. It has that just perfect little bark. I love the rings in there. You wouldn't believe how challenging this is. I'm not going to go into all the detail, but you would think doing slices of wood is easy. No, not very easy, because if you want this kind of wood, well, you have to specify. And I love that. I love the rough cut because you can use these for foundational pieces. I'm not going to give away the amazing make that Vicky did with it, but just wait until you see it. Then, of course, many of you know, fans of Idea-ology, these are classics. These are Baubles. And despite all of the emails that we get right after Christmas saying these need to be every day, you should do it every day, it's not. They're not going to be every day. They are seasonal. They're Christmas. That's what makes them fun. They started out as a seasonal, and they will remain that way. They do sell out every year. I know Advantis has already sold out of them, but I know the retailers bought them up. So when I say Advantis is sold out, it doesn't mean, I'm sure the retailers probably stocked up on these. What makes these great? These don't have any holes. They have a great weight to them. They're a plastic pearlized bauble, if you will. The nice thing about this also, I'm gonna bring in the tray while I'll talk about this stuff. It'll just be easier than me kind of zipping around the whole time. These are baubles, so we'll talk about how you can make mercury glass ornaments out of baubles. Because of that pearlized finish, a little alcohol ink, you can make really legit looking ornaments, and you'll see you can make them for all year. So that's why people stock up on these Christmas. Just like bubbles for Halloween, the clear ones, those are seasonal for Halloween. Bubbles for Halloween, baubles for Christmas. Then we have tiny lights for Christmas. What makes these significant? They're multicolored, right? So when you turn these on, you're going to have all the different colors of lights. These only come out at Christmas. That's that little visual right there. These don't represent the actual color, just a representation of the colors that are on there. Pretty close.
What makes them significant is they look awesome in my hat.
They do. This is Mario's favorite, you could tell.
I love tiny lights.
Yeah, I just told him like his hat was rated for like outdoor illumination because
it's so nice.
It was a beautiful beacon. I love that these color lights come out for Christmas because it is that multicolor Christmas lights, just super fun for the holidays. But let's not forget that tiny lights, you can see it's just in the brown packaging. These are everyday. These tiny lights, they're just clear. It's that warm white light, and these are year-round, thank goodness, for now. I hope they stay around for a while. But these are perfect for, you would think, well, why would I need lights year-round? Well, because if you've seen any of the other lives, you use them to light up so many different things, right? One of the things being this guy, and I'll bring it in because it's not a Christmas SKU. It was, but you guys liked it so much that it actually stayed in the line. Well, the truth is we spent so much money tooling it, and I wanted to keep it. we designed this lantern from scratch. We were inspired by a little one that we saw that was made out of plastic. But I said to Tracy, I really want this made out of metal. She's like, of course you do. Why would you?
I thought that was going to put her over there.
Why would you be settled for just a plastic lantern that I could get right now? I'm like, because it's a plastic lantern. So here's what we did on this one. Besides that it's metal, right? And it's got this great kind of antique finish on it. It also has a little notch out of the back. Can you see that little notch we did out of the metal? Because the cylinder here, although it is that clear acrylic, you'll see inside is hollowed out. Just that inside chamber is hollowed out. It stops at the top and underneath there is a hole. Why? Because you can take tiny lights, however many you want, because tiny lights could be trimmed, twist it, put a couple of little lights up inside that lantern, bring the wire out of that notch, and go about wherever you want to reroute tiny lights. So you can create an illuminated lantern. So when you see the lanterns in the makes, and you will see this used, that is how they light it up, with tiny lights, right? It doesn't come lit up. That's the cool thing about this, is that you can light it up or not. You don't have to. But I do love the lantern, and I like to share it because these are every day. And sometimes if you're only shopping Christmas, you won't see these maybe from the retailer in that area that you're shopping from, because they're like, oh, out of sight, out of mind, right, guys? That's how we are as a maker. So I always like to remind you that these are available. They're just every day, okay? All right, moving on, we'll get into the trinkety bits. We have these guys. These are Christmas quote flare. Last year for these as well. These are great little buttons that have wonderful, charming little icons that we found from old gift tags. Then we went in, added some little words, added just some numbers just for good measure. Now these flare, they're just buttons without the pin. So you just add a little bit of adhesive, collage medium, whatever liquid adhesive, and you stick that down, right? Or if you have stacked a couple of squares of foam adhesive, you can stick them down that way and keep them dimensional. But I like those. They could be antique with a little distressed crayon, even a little alcohol ink, but I think they're very charming. Great for quick cards. Super, super sweet, okay? I agree. Mel said minus the giant battery pack. You know it, Mel. You'll see. Like, that is my favorite thing. Replaceable batteries, has a switch, and it doesn't have that ginormous one that you find in the stores. So that's what I didn't like.
Paul are taking notes and actually laughing.
Well, there you go. Because that's, yeah, they're like keeping score, going up. He's off the rails. That's okay. Mirrored stars. This was one of those kind of come and go things. I'm happy that they made it for a second year for Christmas. These are just wonderful little faceted stars. They come in multi sizes, even down to a tiny one that I think is like, I don't know, it might be maybe a 1/4 inch. Super, super small. These are also great year round. They're flat backed. You can glue them onto cards. You can alcohol ink them or color them with a Copic to change the color. I just love these guys. But again, Christmas. Droplets. We did droplets for Halloween. We also did droplets for Christmas. This is a one and done SKU as well. These won't be coming back next year. I love these. These are just, I'm sure you've seen them in the card making world. They're just flat backed droplets. What I like about these really are the colors. These are colors that I don't normally see out there. So this is an antique silver and an antique gold in the metallic pack. And then this is a pearlized winter blue, a pearlized dingy pearl, so not bright white, kind of dingy, and then wonderful green and wonderful red. I'll just kind of show you. There's all sorts of different sizes. You just glue them down with a little collage medium. You can also alcohol ink them if you want to make them even dingier, and they just work on so many things. I think you're going to be surprised to see how the makers use these, because I know when I pitch these to she's like, this is very card aesthetic, and how are you going to use them with ideology? It's pretty remarkable how the makers imagine this. But there again, one and done, because why not? A couple things. I'll move over here because I want to. This one came back for another year, collage paper. I do love the fact that this is a mix of some colorful vintage art and then of course some wonderful black and white graphics as well. Everything from that blueprint of the arch window to some music to some text. I just love collage paper. Use collage medium with it. It becomes translucent. You can put this on wood, fabric, all sorts of things. There's great videos out there on all different ways to use collage paper. One of our favorite substrates, so I'm happy that we were able to bring this art back. It's funny because we had a holly one that we had for so many years. We didn't bring it back last year, and like we had so many messages going, oh, I need to get that this year. That just goes to show that although we bring stuff back year after year, sometimes it's done, right? Either nothing comes back or we change the art. You just never know until we kind of get into it, unless I'm making the decisions on the fly like I'm doing right now. So the design tape, I do love this. We did some fun new art. Look at that tiny little plaid. Oh my gosh, that is adorable. It's a little tartan right there. Little tartan. Then there is that pink and red mint stripe, the most delicate little holly ever with a blue print background. This skinny little trim with words. These tapes fit on the edge of a vignette box, but they're also perfect for little trims. Then we have these two wider ones that are perfect for mini books. You're going to see our bookmakers that use them in junk journals, use them as hinges, so many different things. We've got just that wonderful gingham check, and then also I love this plaid. I do. This is the same plaid that is on our festive tin, right? Okay. And this is the tin came from a tin that Paula actually has. So what makes this tin so cool is that the plaid is from an actual tin, which made Chris's job very, very challenging because it's not like the tin was this big. I think we scanned like this much and we said, hey, can you make something out of that? And he did. Now, if you remember last year, there was a delay on this, and this thing didn't arrive until probably the end of November, early December, and many people were, I mean, it's still sold out in a flash, but it's like I couldn't use it for my Christmas make. So if you bought it last year and you haven't used it, remember you have it and use it. You're going to see some great ideas to make with it. I just love it because it's perfect for gifts, right? You can fill it with so many different things, from treats to gift cards to, and you'll see it used in a creative aspect. It just has a removable top. It's not hinged, so you can do all sorts of things. You can also use it as a make, right? So just kind of stick that in there, put some foam. Definitely go back to last year's idea-ology and see the makes used with it. And I'll remind you of that now and at the end, that many of this stuff has come back year after year. So if you go back to last year's idea-ology, it's like double the inspiration than you're going to see today, because you'll see new ideas, different ideas using this stuff. So I do love this festive tin. So this is not delayed. This is already shipped. So yay. I love it.
Go, Tracy.
It's cute. I know. Go, Tracy. It's really good. Oh, let me just grab these. I'll get these out of the way because they're right in my line of sight. These guys have come back, and it is funny because there's many years that we debate every Christmas whether we should bring back woodlands or not. And again, if you guys have followed us, you've seen that we used to do bags of them. We used to do them short with a small base, with a top base. We've only done small trees. Then we did individual trees, and we kind of seem to find our way because more and more we're finding that people are doing Bottlebrush trees, right? You can find them at the craft store, all of that. What we've noticed though is that those trees are made out of PVC. They're often made out of plastic. And that just means that you get what you get and you don't throw a fit. You buy what you buy. The great thing about these woodland trees, these are made out of sisal, which is a natural material that they make rope with. Okay, that's how they make the original Bottlebrush. So this is made out of a natural material, and because of that, these can be colored, and you're going to see in the demo how easy they are to color. I love that you can use these year-round, although they're only sold at Christmas. I've seen Valentine trees, 4th of July. You saw at Easter, turn these into carrots, right? Turn them upside down and add a little raffia, and they became just Bottlebrush carrots. They're wonderful, and it is nice that you guys support these so we can bring them back because, yeah, it's a big expense because they're expensive to make, obviously, but I love the fact that it is something unique that you have the ability to customize them. Plus I love, of course, that wood base. They're just charming. So we do have them in the large trees, and then tree lot, which gives you 1 large, 2 medium, and 2 small trees. Now, these are all hand done, so, you know, they're kind of a little wonky sometimes, but they're perfect. Really good.
That time we bought those other trees and we
I do.
tried to do that.
I remember. Yeah, Joy and Monica were here.
Everything fell off.
Yeah, I found that whole hack on YouTube where it's like you can buy the green trees and then you can bleach them and get the green and the snow off. And I tried to do that, and then of course they completely dissolved. So that didn't really work out. Anyway, that was pretty funny, but I do remember that. So then we've got these. These are the tree stands. So these are metal tree stands. We launched these last year. Again, happy to see these come back for another year. They're perfect. I love the look of these. These don't actually turn. They're just molded like that. You'll see some ideas of how you can color these. These are great for the medium size and of course the largest woodland that you would just glue inside, but it's such a great tree stand, just inspired by a vintage one. Okay, so these don't actually turn, but you can stick stuff in. But I've seen people also use these just as holders. I haven't seen anyone use it for a drippy candle yet, but I would imagine it would make a pretty cool candle holder. Maybe too big. I don't know. Maybe I'm stretching here, but I don't know. I think there's different ideas for different things that we haven't even tapped into. All right, let's get into the sweet stuff, right? Confections. Now, you know we're all about the confections. I'm all about the candy. I love that. So these are Confections Christmas, which are the mints and the sticks. Then we're introducing candy canes. When we did last year, and I'm like, ooh, could we like make this? This was one of those wouldn't it be cools where I said to Tracy, wouldn't it be cool if we took this and we actually had the confection and they could make a candy cane out of it? Because these are flexible, right? So this is made out of a type of clay material that after they bake it, it still retains its flexibility. And we have these candy canes. Look at, it's like the perfect candy cane, is it not? That perfect red that's like, I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it. Candy cane red. But you can glitter these. You can still cut these. You'll see how the makers used them so many different ways. So just like where we did the candy corn and the confections for Halloween, we brought back the mints and the sticks for Christmas, but then we introduced the pack of candy canes. So these, of course, are wonderful. Again, probably not going to be sold this way next year. I'm sure I'll do confections, but I'll probably maybe merge the two together just because we need to. So I do love the confections. One of my favorites. And wait till you see the makes. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay. A few more things and then we're going to get onto it. So Tiny Bells. Now Tiny Bells came back, but we did do something a little different. And again, Tracy, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I wanted a jingle bell. Seems silly, but I wanted that like old school kind of jingle bell. We've had Tiny Bells in the past. So Tiny Bells contain what people would call a jingle bell. That would be a jingle bell, right? So you get a couple sizes of those. What makes these significant? They're in the vintage finish, so they're not in that shiny silver or shiny brass. They come in antique silver and antique brass. Also in the pack, you have kind of these Christmas bells, right? And they do have a little, dinger in there, but the dinger doesn't ding. So it's more of a thinger than a dinger, but it's in there, right? Now these things could go on a wreath or a garland or whatever. What do you call it? I don't know. Anyway, then we have these. So these are the two new styles. This is that vintage jingle bell, sleigh bell, and they come in two different sizes. And I just love them because see, it has that metal ridge around it. All of these have that loop at the top so you can attach it with wire or string, but I love them. So these are this is a new addition to the pack. So you just kind of get an assortment of all those different style bells in the pack, right? There's 18 different bells, but that's what makes it different. And I like to say that because sometimes you'll look at that and go, yeah, I already have it. And then you'll wonder, well, wait a minute, where did you get that little guy, right? It's just so good. And I couldn't give these other ones up because I was just going to do a whole pack. And I'm like, no, because sometimes I want that shape and sometimes I still like that one, right? So anyway, that's what makes Tiny Bells so wonderful to me in ideology. Oh, I see people already talking about what I just said. I don't know what I say. It is what it is. Okay. These guys came back for another year. These are word plaques. And again, they have 4 great sentiments. It's got raised words on here. So we've got holiday wishes, peace on earth, season of magic, and wonderful life. You'll see again how these are used in so many different ways. I love the classic styling of these. Then instead of bringing back the quote seals that we did last year, so last year we had the seals that had the little quotes debossed in them. Those did not come back this Christmas. Instead, we turned these into shape seals. So we still have that cool metal wax seal look. So these are made out of metal, but now it has that beautiful raised snowflake. Very nice if you're using your alcohol inks or your crayons in there to add some color, or just leave it this wonderful silver finish. Okay. This is something that you would put on the outside of a journal or something that really gives it that cool wax seal look. They are heavy, so I don't know if I'd put it on an envelope, right? Because it's going to add some weight to it. Maybe. Probably Tifa would do that. She'd be like, bring it on. But I love the fact that if you were looking for an embellishment of a seal, these are really just beautiful. So for Halloween, we did the raised skulls, and for Christmas, we did the raised snowflakes. Speaking of snowflakes, the adornment snowflakes, these came back for another year. These are just beautiful. I love them because they're true vintage. They have those little tiny stones in there. Whoop, I'd like to say that they're rhinestone, but you'll see. Again, let me get my pork chop fingers out of the way. So they're metal and they have all those little stones in there. So 7 little stones that are set, gives it a nice little sparkle, tiny little loop at the top that you can tie them on. I just like them. We've done so many snowflake charms through the year, but I think that this is one that probably will remain a classic, hopefully a little bit longer, because I just like the look of them. And then this, I will say, is a fan favorite for makers, and I'm really happy because Paula and I, we scoured looking for something vintage, because we do like to find vintage findings to replicate. Okay, so we found this vintage Christmas brooch of a wreath, and it was in really bad shape, but the design of it, the shape of it was perfection. And again, Tracy is probably rolling her eyes because we went back and forth on this so many times, because here's what Paul and I loved about this. One, we loved that all the leaves had some texture. See that? Also, the leaves laid on top of one another. It wasn't flat, it had texture. Then the berries were raised on top of that, so they had to come up from the leaves. And then it's this bow, a bow that has that little swoopity-doo, right? Something that's going to have that little flare. So it's, instead of just doing a charm, and I know that charms have texture and detail, but most of the time for charms we kind of simplify it. It's more of a stamping, if you will, that has the detail. This one, we wanted all of those other elements, and you'll see why, because you can paint this, you can add an element, but the attention to detail of this one is ridiculous. It's so cool, and it does have a nice thickness to it. So when you do put it on the front of a journal, or if you made even if you made an ornament out of it, or you can make a pin to wear, right? Just a beautiful design to it. So those are the Adornment Christmas wreaths. Just so good, so good. I do love that. So we've got those. Okay, a few other things. We've got this stuff, the linen tape. So linen tape, we've done some fabric tape. Again, we've talked about this. This is a printed canvas. It's adhesive back. But take a look at these two rolls. I'm just going to open this pack. Okay.
Now you're talking.
You'll see. Mario loves this stuff. He really does. So this particular tape, I'm just going to peel this off. When you start it, let me just get it started. Just peel off that little sticky part. There you go. At the beginning, it's paper backed to begin with. Okay, because it is fabric, we couldn't get everything gummy. You might have a little, it doesn't really leave, it's a little tacky in that spot, but it is what it is. Otherwise, it would have just gone everywhere, but it's not going to mess up anything. But this, you can see, look at that, the texture. It's a canvas, paperback, so you can cut it, then peel it off like a sticker and stick this down. We did plaid, so the nice thing is that you can create wonderful little patchworks. So this could be used on a card. Again, think about Valentine's Day. This would be great for Valentine's Day. This would be great for outdoors, Father's Day. We love plaid, and so why not just do something that is going to be perfect for a patchwork, but also, again, this is more traditional, I would say more Christmas, but it does have just some that are green. But this is perfect for journals. It's very, very high tack. It's very flexible, so it makes really cool hinges and all sorts of different things that could be done. So really, really nice.
For boxes.
Yeah, Mario does love it for boxes.
Tartan tape.
Yeah, it's really good. Love it. All right, tartan tape.
Tartan.
All right. Then we have just a few other trinkety bits, and we'll move on. I first want to talk about this one. So Salvage Santa and Salvage Snowman. Again, if you've been a fan of idea-ology for years, you could look at this and you'd be like, yeah, I already have that, I have it. If you have it, use what you have. But I will tell you this. This year I changed the Santa, and here's why. Because we've added some deer, it was also an opportunity to kind of revise this. In the past, I never realized, I guess, I honestly didn't until you try to use it together, that this was the original version, and the Santa was a little shorter and smaller than the snowman. I also didn't like that his hat was kind of more of a cone. It didn't really have, because I guess the little pom-pom ball is in the back. So I wasn't really happy with it. So when we were doing this, I just said to Tracy, can we like revise this SKU? She's like, we've had this same SKU for years. Why are you touching it? I'm like, because we can do it better. I found a different ornament that was very similar, a vintage ornament. And so this is the new Santa. And the difference between the two, and you may not care about this, and that's totally fine, but I'm gonna tell you anyway. This, you can see he's bigger. So this is the new one. He's bigger in scale overall, a little bit taller. So now he evens up to our snowman if they're gonna stand next to each other. But also, to me, it was the detail. I think that his beard just has a different type of texture. His hat has a different texture, and now that little pom-pom is on the side. And I just love the way it looks. It just changes everything. I wanted a little bit more pointy design to his beard than it just being rounded. So very minor things that probably most people would never notice, but it matters to me. And as a creative, we know that it only has to matter to you. It doesn't really matter about the other things. If you like it, do it. So that is the difference between this one and years past, because I do think it probably has even a different number. I don't know, maybe not. I'm sure it does because it's changed.
Let's talk about that new deer because of that.
Yeah.
You knocked out of the park.
It's so good.
It's
So
the best.
we did some tiny deer in the past, and I love those other tiny deer. Those were retired. So those little resin deer that we've had in the past, those did not come back. They were small. They were tiny. I wanted something that could set better as a scene. If you were doing a Sizzix village, maybe you're doing a house, or maybe you were doing more of an ideology scene. Those deer were a little too small to work with everything else. So we created these two new salvage deer and gave them the same aesthetic as the salvage Santa and Snowman. And when I say aesthetic, it means kind of that carved look. Can you see how these have just some carved elements to them? The reason I like this carved styling, and you'll see from the makers, is when you add paint or crayon or alcohol ink, or even if you go in and do Foundry Wax, it maintains that cool texture and really gives these pieces a bit more character, right, than just having like this bubblegum looking character. So I do like the fact that they look carved, and you'll see, yeah, Zoe just said look carved out of wood, and Zoe's deer that she did looks like it was carved out of wood. But it's a much nicer scale, right? Again, we're not going to do it life size, right? But you can see that it's pretty good to scale if you wanted to use them together in a scene. So this one is a standing one, and then we have this one that's kind of a laying one, but really beautiful. I love the antlers. I love just the whole look of this. And you're right. Thanks, Mario. They're just beautiful. I love them. I love them. I love them. All right, let's get this guy out. He doesn't belong. He's an old one. And we'll put these pieces back. So those are the salvage. And then we have this, another one that I wanted to do over. We've done snow globes in the past. The snow globe was this glass sphere with the wooden bases. I really wanted something that was just a bit more, I don't know, just more beautiful, more festive, more Christmassy. So we worked on this tirelessly off of a photograph, actually, because we couldn't even find a vintage one because obviously the ones we found were really big. So the new snow globe, instead of getting two with the wood base, you're getting one, right? But this base is metal. It's a beautiful metal that has a wonderful finish to it. I'm going to take it out of the package so you can see. It's two pieces. You have the glass and you have this metal base. The metal base where this fits inside. It doesn't stick. You have to adhere it if you're going to attach it permanently with a little collage medium, but you can fill it with whatever. But take a look at that metal detailing, the little feet that flare out from the bottom. And again, this is one of those items that most likely is not going to come back next year. It was fun, it was great to have, but it's just something that I kind of want to move on to other things. I think it's beautiful, but it's good that it's a one and done, right? We've done snow globes for many years, and I know Tracy's like, no, do you know how much this costs to do? Yes, but I know that we've got to make room for new ideas. So I do love that. It's a beautiful thing. Now, I wanted just to show you how easy it was to make, because you're going to see snow globe in a make, but what I loved about this is that it didn't necessarily have to be in a make. It certainly could be. It was designed to work in the vignettes, okay? But I also wanted something that if you just wanted to make this, you could, right? So just a quick little step out of what I did to create this one. So this is the snow globe that I made. It's beautiful. I love it. It was so easy to make. So I created this one. There's a little snowflake charm on there. You can see we've got that tree in there with so it does have glitter in there, so you can shake it up because it is a little snow globe. There's this small little woodland tree, a little bit of ribbon, and that snowflake. Many people, when you're working with this, you're like, oh my gosh, how do I get started, or how do you build in there? So here's my advice, my tip, and I've talked about this many times before. Little 1-inch styrofoam balls, right? They are great risers. You can use them in buckets and barrels and all sorts of things. So I take one of these, I cut it in half. You can just use a knife or your scissor even. Then I went in with a little bit of Distress, the Snowfall paste, and I covered it in grit paste, and then I dipped it in glitter while the paste was wet. So it's really sparkly. You don't see it, but in your heart you'll know it's there, okay? Then you can ink your tree. You can cut these trees. If you're going to cut them though, don't use your scissor because you can see the core of it is wire. Use a wire cutter, but cut it to whatever height you need to fit into the globe. So once I had this done, I used some hot glued it into the metal. If you're having trouble with the hot glue sticking, here's another suggestion. Heat this up with a heat tool, okay? Get this warm with a heat tool. I know it sounds crazy, but heat up the metal. Then once this metal is warm, put in your hot glue with a glue gun. Then glue this in. Try not to touch the sides, but glue this in. Because if the glue, hot glue, touches cold metal, it tends to set too quick. Okay? So this doesn't have to be roasting. This doesn't have to be glowing red. But if you warm it up before you put your hot glue, the hot glue will stay hot enough that it will solidify and kind of bind that better. Okay? That's going to be my advice to that. Otherwise, this will just kind of pop off, then you just need to heat it again. So anytime you're hot gluing metal, if you could warm up the metal first, it just gives a better adhesion. Other than that, I normally use collage medium for metal, but that's what I did just to create that little mountain. And what that did is, to me, that kind of brought that scene up to eye level, right? Because the inside of this has to be recessed for the glass to sit. But if you work from the bottom, then a lot of your scene is kind of buried. So create just that little setting, if you will. The tree was just stuck in. Again, a little hot glue, stick it right in a styrofoam ball, make sure it fits. Okay. Then once you're happy with it, you're happy with your scene, you're going to put the glitter in here, just a little scoop of it. Your tree and everything is already stuck. You're going to put some collage medium around the outside of this glass, just a little bit of collage medium, and then you're going to take this piece, imagine the tree and everything is on it, and you're going to place it down, and then you can let it dry. You can let it dry this way, or you can turn it around and just let gravity take control. Let that collage medium dry. I'm going to say give it at least a couple of hours to set. The longer you can wait, the better. And then all I did was just wrap it with a piece of ribbon, tied the tiniest little bow ever. Thanks for your help, Mario, because my pork chop fingers and bows just
So I saw a question
get
go by.
well.
Tim, who tied your bow?
I did. I did. I'm not going to say on the first try, but I did.
It was a while.
It took a while, but I did it. And then I got a tip from Stacy and Paula before, like once your bow is set, put a little collage medium on your finger and then just go in and kind of lightly rub that, and then your bow and the little tails will maintain its shape, right? Plus it keeps it from unraveling if you have a little collage medium, because the collage medium will dry totally matte. So see, you don't know it's on there, but that's why that bow keeps its shape. And I did add that little snowflake on there before I added that. Where did I find the tree? The tree was the woodland trees that I shared at the very beginning of the live. These are woodland trees. It's a small one that we added, right? You just cut it down to size. You can ink it whatever color, add a little glitter. So I do love that. And it is easy. Again, if you compartmentalize, and that's why I like to share these silly tips. Some people are probably rolling their eyes going, well, hello, Captain Obvious. Yes, but other people might get this and go, well, how do I glue anything inside? Like, how do I keep things from falling over? And that little styrofoam ball allows you to stick things into it, glue things onto it, and go from there, right? To create something charming. So just imagine, again, this is a great gift. This is a great gift. This could be at a table setting, right? For your guests, if you're having guests for the holidays, just a little keepsake to take home. I just think it's so beautiful, right? So I will fess up. Because I wanted it more festive, I did do a little bit of Foundry Wax over the top of this, right? So I just took a little Foundry Wax, rubbed over this with that silver Foundry Wax, right? The sterling, and then I heat set it. So that's why the edges are a little bit shinier silver than the plating. That's an option. So you could do gold, you can do whatever, because Foundry Wax sticks to metal, but it's just beautiful, right? I just think it's great. These are not designed to be watertight. So if you're like, how do I glue it so I could put water in there? They're not meant for that. So I'm not sure how you would do that, but they are meant to be filled with whatever it is that you like. So that is what I love about this. I'm happy with it. I can just sit there and look at it, right? So imagine a little dream scene in there. And the glitter that I use is rock candy, and we're going to talk about that glitter in just a second. I've got one more product to show you, and then we're going to get into the rest of it. So the curio clock, I mentioned this during Halloween. Because we released this new curio clock this year, we did 2 seasonal releases. A Halloween one, which was a glossy black, and Christmas one, which is a glossy red. This will not be coming back next year. This is just because to celebrate the launch of this new clock. It is a wonderful, shiny, festive red, right? You can see that wonderful red. So you'll see the makes of it, but this is the last one that I'll talk about for product that has come out. Look at that.
Bye-bye.
The real one is here that Paula did. Very cute. So, okay. So that stuff can go, we can get stuff out of the way. We can get into the makes and all that other fun stuff now. I'll move this. Yeah, you can take that. Thanks, Mario.
Sure.
So we'll talk about Foundry Wax real quick, and we'll also talk about sparkles and then the makes. So as I mentioned, Foundry Wax. Foundry Wax is a distressed product through Ranger. It is a a wax, but it's fluid, and there's a whole demo on this, so I'm not going to demo this one, but there's a whole Foundry Wax demo. You can apply it to all sorts of surfaces. Use your heat tool. The heat tool then sets the wax permanently and leaves it to a beautiful metallic finish. So remember how these salvage pieces look, okay? The cool thing about these resin pieces is they can be painted. So here's the snowman that's been painted. So this one's done with just distress paint, painted a little bit of the areas, rubbed off. Then to make this grungy look, a little bit of distressed crayon rubbed on there, wiped off, and then of course that sparkle, that snow, that's all rock candy glitter. And I'm going to talk about all the sparkly stuff too, because this way, if I cover all the sparkly stuff ahead of time, then we don't have to go through each make which sparkle medium they use, because they do love a good sparkle, as do I. But another great way is using Foundry Wax, right? So this is the Santa. So if you want to create like a vintage figure that looks pewter, or maybe it looks like a foil wrapped Santa, and I shared this doing a rabbit earlier in the year. This is just taking Foundry Wax, painting it all over the entire thing, heating it to where it leaves. So take a look at that. I mean, it literally looks like it's made out of solid metal, but it isn't. That's the beauty of Foundry Wax. So once it's heat set, you get that beautiful leafing. And then I just went in with a little bit of distressed crayon, rubbed it in with my fingers, lightly wiped it off with a damp paper towel to remove the excess and leave that grunge inside. And it's just amazing how you can transform these resin pieces into either metal or something colorful and sparkly.
That looks just like your old candy mold.
I know.
Really?
I love it. See that little dinger right there? It's so good that it's there. I love it. So those are just some ideas of what you can do with the resin pieces as well, just like the ideas with the snow globe. So sparkly stuff. I think when we did the Distress Live, there was a lot of questions and some confusion on the variety of sparkly stuff that you can do. Tammy B, she's got a great tutorial on ways to add snow to things. So I highly recommend that. I've shared it in my stories. She has, I believe, a blog post about it as well. But if you're adding any type of like glitters or grit paste or stuff to Christmas things, especially trees that have colors, you have to do some steps in between so the color doesn't transfer, so your snow doesn't turn green or your glitter doesn't turn a color. And Tammy really covers all the different products that you can use to do that. What I wanted to cover specifically are the different types of sparkly things you can do for the season. One is Snowfall Grit Paste. So this is a seasonal paste that I did with Ranger. Okay, it is a translucent grit and it has clear glitter in there to add a little sparkly snow. Again, not going to go into detail because we just demoed this last week, I think. But this is what it looks like when you apply it. You can see that it's translucent. It can be tinted all different colors, right? But it's just a beautiful snowy thing. That's what I used on the styrofoam ball. That's what I like to use on my trees or anytime I want to create snow, because it has the opacity buildup of snow, but also the translucency versus just using white, okay? So that is the grit paste. Then we have a couple of sparkly things, okay? Sparkly things being rock candy and mica flakes. Rock candy, if you hear me mention rock candy, I am talking about this glitter, okay? This has various particle sizes of a clear glitter, so it's like sugar. So it doesn't have any iridescence. You can see it just sparkles like diamonds. It also doesn't become airborne, okay, because it's a different type of glitter. It's not a mylar glitter that floats all over your room. It is a heavier weight glitter. This is sold year-round. It's just one of my favorites. I love rock candy glitter. Then we have mica flakes. This is a synthetic mica, okay? It's a synthetic mica, and it has just that wonderful clear quality to it. I love these flakes, okay? These could be adhered with glossy accents or collage medium, or they can just be loose and shaken around. Again, this is also a product that we sell year-round. I love both of these because they provide some great sparkle. I've also talked about it in the past. I'm not going to demo it today, but there are demos out there on the blog that both of these products, rock candy and mica flakes, can be tinted with alcohol ink. So this is like what I have in my creative space. So I have every different color of glitter just using alcohol ink and rock candy. So if I ever wanted a purple glitter or black glitter for Halloween, or brown, or a blue glitter for winter, I can make all of my colors of glitter by tinting rock candy with alcohol ink, and it just stays that wonderful, sparkly, loose glitter. Absolutely wonderful, really cool to do, and it's just nice to look at. These are the the distressed jars. So we sell these storage jars. Ranger has them. And then this is just the crayon tin that I put them in. But we now call it the storage tin because I store everything in it. And then these are mica flakes. So again, you can color your mica flakes. Like, look at that green. Look at that purple. Oh my gosh. Look at those mica. Or mushroom, right? It's a little gray or brown or black mica flakes. So if you wanted to use these again, like for Valentine's Day in a shaker card, mica flakes are great in a shaker card because it just has a little bit more of a vintage vibe instead of sequence. But I don't have as many colors of that just because I didn't want to make as many, but I made a nice set of colors. So both of these can be tinted, right? And again, there are videos on there on my website. If you just go to timholtz.com, and I'm sure if you type in rock candy or mica flakes, a post will pop up. And then we've got this one, frosted crystal, and there's some makes. Susie did a make using this. So frosted crystal, this was the confusion last week. This is an embossing powder, totally different from this. This is a paste. These are just dry particles. This is an embossing powder. It is an embossing powder that is ideal for creating a matte frosted texture. So frosted crystal, you need to use like you would any other embossing powder. Lay down an ink. Usually it's an embossing ink or a pigment. You can even use it sometimes with distress. Then you would apply it, and then you heat emboss it with a heat tool, and it becomes a matte frosted finish. It's not sparkly, but it provides a great wintry texture. So, and I think Stacy even did a tutorial where she used, I think, frosted crystal and rock candy. So, whew, they all come out. So a lot of ideas for that. Those are the sparkly things. Let's get to the makes, shall we? Here we go. Oh my gosh, so many. I cannot wait. And again, a shout out to all the makers for just doing an unbelievable job in the ideology making world. So this first one is created by none other than Paula. So I love what she did. So first of all, I'll just kind of talk about the mechanics. This is a vignette tray. As I mentioned, the vignette boxes, the vignette trays, shrines, all that, as part of the everyday ideology line. That is the structure that the makers work with most of the time because it is a great build. It is made out of wood. So here she took a wonderful setting. I love that little roof, right? I'm sure inspired by Tammy B's little cat on the roof. I love seeing, these are the etc. trims, I believe. Maybe Tammy did die cuts, but this is a great idea using the trims P. Layering those to create kind of a little roof coming out of it. There's that baseboard red door. There's the resin barrel. That's part of the everyday line, and we'll talk about that at the end. I love the tree. Look at those baubles, guys. See what I mean? I mean, stop it right now. That's why you want baubles. They make the perfect ornament, and because you have the different sizes, whoop, you've got that great scale. Then we have this beautiful wreath. That is the trim of the pine, right? Now, the other cool thing, if you look at this, can you kind of see the texture of this wreath? Because it's plastic, if you use your heat tool, it will kind of melt it and give it this really gnarly, kind of fringy look. Very cool. So it will melt it, but that's what gives it, instead of it kind of looking fluffy like a chia pet. I love that. I just noticed it. Wish I would have done that on my make. That's cool. Then we have the lantern. I love how it's done green because you can paint it. You can use embossing glaze, all sorts of things. There's some snowballs, little beautiful snowballs made out of baubles, just adding some rock candy. Then we've got that baseboard frame as a window. We've got the word. I love seeing the tree there. There's where we're talking about the tape. This is where everything comes together, guys, right? Everything comes together. There's the tape. There's the backdrops in there. So you can see the backdrop of just that lumber company. We've got the paper, and then I'll turn it around and I'll turn the lights back on again. The entire panel is done with collage tiles. So remember that pack of squares? You get two each of the squares. Not only do they fit the vignette display panel, which you'll see is a big panel, but they also are sized to fit the large vignette tray. So there's no cutting, there's nothing. You just glue them on. Now, if you're going to do the side, you just trim off the excess, right? The overhang. But how cool is that to make a patchwork? Then there's the tiny lights, and that is what is illuminating everything. Not just the tree, but now you already know how it pops up through the lantern. See the importance of going through things at the beginning? I sometimes read the chat, people are like, get on with it, get on with it. It's like, you just stop it right now. Just hold on, right? Yeah, you just hold on. Because when you understand it, now when you see the makes, it's much easier to connect the dots going, oh, I get it. That's the tree is in the thing with the baubles. Oh, now I know how that's lit up. Now I see those are the baubles. It's really cool to help connect the dots. And I think it's always important to understand the product so you can understand the project. Then we can see that little wonderful vignette hardware. And I love a little bit of tinsel. See, just a little bit on there because it's wired. It's going to hold its shape. That little tag from ephemera. Just a charming, charming, festive make, right? Beautiful. I know. I agree, Anita. Stop it right now. It's It's so good. So, so good. Just beautiful. So many makes. So many makes to get to. This clock, this is also from Paula. There's many makes from Paula, so sometimes I'll do a little back to back. This is the actual from the packaging of the clock. So you can see tiny lights on the tree, and not every tree has to be decorated with baubles, okay? But it's beautiful when you do it. So just look at the difference in the trees. They both have the color tiny lights, but this one's got the extra of the baubles. This one is just the lights. I love how on this tree, you know, the lights just kind of go, because they're wired, you can position them. There's also mica flakes. That's what makes this tree, see, you can see the mica. That's what makes this look so much more, I'll just say glowy, illuminated, because the mica flakes really reflect and bounce the light. This one, this has just a little bit of glitter on there, but a beautiful snowy effect. There you can see the resin barrel, little paper doll. Right, I love the rock candy going on the outside of this clock too. Just give it a little wintry, so you can always put glitter even on the painted clock. Right, you've got that little battery pack in the back, and then our candy cane. So much like the Halloween make that Paula did, where she had that one piece of candy corn, we had one candy cane. And when she did the make, I'm like, candy cane front and center. She did, and I love it. But then you can see on the bottom that little bit of tinsel. That tinsel is also a good filler, because sometimes you see that trim and you're like, what do I do with it? Do I have to just make a garland? No, sometimes it's a good fill in the blanker. It just creates a good foundation piece for that. So really two absolutely wonderful makes using trees and barrels and tiny lights, but just using things different depending on your structure. And you're going to see that a lot, that it's not all about boxes and 3D things. Ideology can be interpreted so many different ways, and that is why I mentioned at the beginning, I'm so excited about this live, because I'm anxious to see all the makes and dive in. Because all I've done is like put them in baskets, you know, just to kind of spread out the makers, but I've not really taken a deep dive into this.
You tried.
I did. Mario's like, don't do it, you'll be sad. And he was right. So it's like a Christmas morning this morning. So Susie created this book. So this one, I can't wait to dive in, because I held it, and right away, at first I was like, oh, okay, cool, ideology. And I'm like, wait a minute. This is built from chapter 3, right? Chapter 3 Physics. So can you recognize this? This is the envelope, right? That collector envelope right there that she has just die cut as a piece. And because of that, she left this open. So normally, you know, you can have that envelope closed and all that. I love that she cut it and just left it like that. Didn't even fold it over. It's all put together by the tape. Look at that binding. Come on. Now, many of these makers give tutorials throughout the season. Some of them have YouTube channels, some of them do blogs. My advice, follow the makers, right? People email us all the time going, I saw this in your video, how do I know how to make this? The makers, we put at the end of the live, we've got on timholtz.com, with the live video, we've got all the makes, we've got the makers identified, who did what, they're linked. Thank you, Zoe, for linking those makes, but there is a maker page on timholtz.com that has all the makers that make for all the brands. Throughout the entire year, and links to their Instagram, their YouTube, their blog. So check that out, follow them, okay? Because you never know, you might learn this really cool binding trick with that tape, okay? But then because we've got that little envelope, there's gonna be all these surprises. Take a look at that with the paper dolls. So this is what I was talking about. I don't know if the camera's gonna pick it up. This is frosted crystal, okay? So when you emboss with frosted crystal on something shiny, it dulls it down. It gives it a frosted look. So what's nice about the paper dolls that are normally that high gloss, and you can kind of see his face is not embossed, right? It's got, see, she didn't put embossing on his face, see how it's shiny, but the rest of him is frosted. It's really nice because it also takes color, in my opinion, a little easier, so you can use distressed pencils, you can go in and use crayons to tint, but it's just a wonderful texture, and I use frosted crystal for things not just at Christmas, because it's not glittery, it's just frosted. But I love the incorporation of rub-ons, the little stickers, the ephemera, but a great idea for the pocket. Oh, I just noticed that. Look at that, there's a little window. That's film strip ribbon. My gosh, that's ideology circa, oh my gosh, 10 years ago, easy. I love film strip ribbon. It's still available, but I bet, oh, see, come on, look at him. He's peeking through. That is, oh my gosh, I just noticed this. Look, she didn't even close. That's brilliant. So she took that envelope and didn't even close either flap, right? It's a drive-through. It's a little slide through, well, except for the bell, but that's really clever because it now made a taller page. Very clever, Susie. I love that. Then you can see again the baseboards, how you can use metal embellishments in that journal. There's a little photos. I mean, yeah, look at all these details. See, there's that little slide frame. That's from Specimen, using just those little layer stars. I'm sure Paul is just gushing right now because it's magic, isn't it? I love it. There's a little flashcards. Those are in ephemera. Look at the little stitch details. Come on. Just that. So that's the thing about a bookmaker. I so applaud it, but I have like zero patience for it. But I'll admit, I always get nervous because I think I'm going to rip something out that shouldn't have been. I say that to Marlise and Susie all the time. Like, I don't know if I should pull this out or flip it over. But this one, there you go. There's that card. Again, just using the photos, a little splatter. These pieces, right? These are those, using the papers of those cards, those pocket cards. A little mirrored star on there. Just so charming. I love seeing that pocket. This is just using that file folder, also from Specimen. I like seeing that little eyelet. See, eyelets for the win, right? I know many makers have been using the eyelets in there. And just seeing these pieces, right? Whether you're doing ephemera, whether you're doing worn wallpaper, all of these die cut pieces can frame the photos. They can, oh my gosh, perfect for charms. Oh, I'm gonna open it. I don't know if there's anything in it, but take a look at that little envelope. Oh yes, look at that. See, Paula's probably sitting there clapping because these are the things like when we talk about designing about size, she's like, oh, it could be a little thing that gets tucked into this. I'm like, really? Is anyone going to get that? And then you see it and there it is, right? Look at the little sewn detail. I love the little envelope. That's postal from chapter 3, the little labels, just those little bits of tape. See what I was saying about that linen tape, that it's really canvasy? You may not notice it on the roll, but because it's already stuck, it's perfect patchworks. You don't have to cut fabric. You don't have to glue. That is what's great about that tape, that you've got these tiny little plaids that you just peel and stick, and it's got such a heavy texture to it. I hope Tracy's still watching because there again, that was one of those products that it's like, nope, not textured enough. Nope, we need to find another tape. Nope, still not textured enough. She goes, seriously, what do you want it to be? I'm like, canvas. Like I want to be able to visually see that it's a textured tape. All right. Take a look here. Again, just some more elements, little clipping stickers, the splatter. I don't know. I'll do it. I don't know if I'm supposed to open this one. I'm gonna. Yep. Oh, stop it right now. Okay. So here, again, the same collector envelope as this, but used in a totally different way. So instead of gluing the flaps, she put the closures here, and now you're opening that envelope this way to reveal another little, oh, look at her. Seriously, how adorable is she? Fabulous. Look at her. See that little frosted crystal? See, I love that Tracy and Chris watch it because, you know, for them as sourcing or art, they're just like, really, why does it matter that it's this size? Or why does it matter that it's got this? Or because all these details, when they come together harmoniously, that's the magic right there, right? So look at that little paper doll, little idea-ology bouquet. But I love, again, how created that kind of reveal inside that chapter 3. So if you guys have chapter 3 and you've just been making coin envelopes, here's a whole new idea. Just now making a little reveal and adding another little journal piece in there. A little confection. I love how that's just tied on with some thread. Then we've got that word plaque, the layers, tiny clips. That's part of the everyday line. Little loop pin for those other little tags. I mean, what a magical make with chapter 3. This is the chapter 3 Christmas make of my dreams, where I was like, I told you guys at chapter 3, like you could use it all year to really make whatever it is you're going to make. And yeah, Susie rocked it. Just very cool. And like I said, many of these makers, I know Susie in particular as well as Marlise, just do very thorough walkthroughs of their books because I'm sure there's things that I probably missed in that. Believe it or not, that is possible. So now take a look at this. I love decor pieces. So Stacy created this. So this is just taking a vignette, right? So this is our vignette box, a square. There's some tiny lights in there. Using it as a foundation. So vignettes, you're going to see vignettes being used inside, right? Where we're using the actual depth of the box to build inside. But you can also use it as foundational pieces, whether it's going to be a panel that you hang on the wall or you just create it with a riser. So here, just taking those papers, look at that crackle on there. So we do have Distress Clear Crackle. So you give it kind of that icy finish all the way around. And I love the tattered edges of there. There's tack nails. We do love tack nails. You're going to see a lot of tack nails. Tack nails are these little nails in idea-ology that are like a forged nail. I don't have a pack here, but a cool little nail. I don't know if we have any out there, Mario, but little nails that you can hammer into the boxes and things, and it just gives it a really cool handmade look. We've got this dome. I'm holding onto the dome just because the dome, is removable. See, it does come off, so I don't want it to fall. But I love seeing, this is an idea-ology display dome. You can see the tree. Look at those little packages, little wrapped boxes. I could never tie those little bows. But I love seeing the layers, just some fabric in there. There is that fabulous deer. See, look at that deer. Looks like it's dry brush with a little Foundry Wax on there. Some sticks, of course. I love seeing the sticks and the bauble berries in there that were added to this layer. But isn't that just, it's fantastic, all the details. So, so charming just to see all of those elements come together. And of course, tiny lights. That's really, thanks Mario. That's really what lights things up. These are tack nails because, so they're a little pack of nails and they're actually hand forged nails. I say that because they're molded. So they're very sharp, they're squared, and all the heads of these are completely random, right? It's not a uniform silver nail. Because it's sharp, it goes into things like vignettes or canvas with like a tap of a hammer, it just goes in. But it also gives it more of a handmade aesthetic because all the nail heads are just wonky and weird. It's a cool product. You see it at shelf level, you're like, what? But when you use them, so good. So beautiful, beautiful make, Stacy. I love just seeing how vignettes can be used so different, and this would be great as a centerpiece, right, on the table. Put some flowers around it, or candles, whatever. Just a great, great piece. And yeah, just don't short yourself on tiny lights. You definitely want to put tiny lights on things because to me it just adds to it. All right, this next make, this just made me smile because I didn't even have to look to see who did it because I knew. Sharon created this. Look at this pink candy confection vignette. Okay, so again, using the backdrops, look at that piece on the back. So even if you have tiny lights, some makers hide them in paper. Back of mine looks terrible. I stick it down with like tape. But you can create a little box out of paper, but I love that it has a switch because you can replace the batteries. You can see the backdrops all the way around with that peppermint stripe that we have, the little hardware. But this is what's really cute about a vignette divided drawer here because it looks like a little sewing drawer. So it could be used this way, right? The whole little drawer pull. But standing it up, now you've got the little confections. There's a little snow globe. Sharon's got mica in there. I love that, Sharon. There's the icicle. Some candy canes in a jar. So these are the cork vials, baubles. This, of course, from Paper Village, right? So this is a little die cut. So different than the Village set, but the Paper Village, because they're smaller, the wonderful Paper Village that you cut out of backdrops and put in there. And then we've got a pink sparkly deer and pink trees and a pink wreath. Look at that. Bring on the pink lovers. And then some snowfall grit paste. I love the colors of the trees and baubles. But this really is, it just shows you that the importance of ideology. You see it and you're like, why are the trees plain? Why didn't you do color trees? Well, why? Because we couldn't do them in 50 colors. Why not do it to where you get to add the color? You get to add the color to the metal. You get to die cut things out of paper. I love that the icicles, because they're thin enough plastic, I love how Sharon just cut them up. They don't all have to go across the full length. You can cut them easy with the scissors because they're just plastic. But all the different textures in here, from the grit paste, the snowballs, the baseboards, it's really fun that you as the maker get to do Christmas your way. That's the magic of ideology, right? Having just a white deer, now it's a pink deer, and it's sparkly. It's pink sparkly, and we know how we got the sparkle, don't we? Yes, we do. Rock candy. Okay. Now we've got this beautiful panel. Let me just turn this on. Emma created this. So this is a vignette display panel. So the nice thing about the vignette panel, it's a bigger square, but it's not as wide. So this was really designed more of a display panel to use this way. Yes, you can work from the inside, but this is designed so it can easily hang on the wall. I love just seeing that painted finish on the outside. There you go, a little machine head on the top. There's some decorative tape, right? That little design tape adding that bit of holly. Here we can see those collage tiles used. Then there's a backdrop. So collage tiles, you don't have to tile the whole thing. You can, because they're meant for that. But you can also just use the edge. And then I love how she used a backdrop. She created that window with the baseboard window. There you can see the botanical layers. There's our little Santa in there from the traditional layers. There's our candy, right? But take a look down here. So remember when I told you that pine garland is wired? So here Emma went, bent it, added some mica. So you can see those beautiful mica flakes, and see it's holding its shape because it's not only wired, but then there's collage medium on there to get the mica to stick. That also changes the fluffiness of that, if you will. But then take a look at how she has the tiny lights wrapped around this. So see, you don't even notice the tiny lights when you look at the garland. That's why they're tiny. So you can wrap them, adding that little bit of mica, just kind of detract, and look how you can light up that wonderful garland under a shelf. So the ledge, just using some etc. trims, she made the little books. We've seen many makers do that from Halloween to every day. So I love the little festive books. There are the baubles, just kind of stacked. This is where mica and rock candy is used all the time, as well as snowfall grit paste. That's what's going to add that layer of snow to things. I love the confections in the little jar. It's just a magical make, right? So beautiful. And look at the droplets. Look how she used the droplets because they are flat backed to decorate that tree. Fabulous make, Emma. So, so good. And there you go. More mica on the top. See, aren't you glad you've watched the whole thing in its entirety so far? Because now it's so much easier to connect the dots. And I always encourage you when you're watching the live, if you see ideas, I hope you have a pad of paper and a pen, or you're working on an iPad or computer and you jot down notes where you're like, mica added, or wrap lights on pine garland, or snowfall on candy. Those little reminders are going to help you kind of bring up those ideas when you need them. There you go. There's more droplets on the stars. I just saw those. Just great, great make. And just tiny lights, just something, a totally different use for those. I'm going to shut those off because I also want to bring that up. Take a look at that. See, that's why I love the plaques. Those are hardware heads. Look at the little detail of the clip. Just so cute, painting that little tiny clip. And there's that sticker from the sticker book. Wow, see? It's like just finding everything. So much inspiration, so many ideas in one make. That's the other thing to remember, that even if you're not going to replicate that exact make, I'm telling you, don't sell yourself short, because sometimes people are like, yeah, I would never make that. It's like, really? So there's not one idea in there that really resonates with you? Oh yeah, okay, well pay attention to that, because that's what matters. So here is one of the Christmas curio clocks that Tammy B did. I love that finish. This is the color of that Christmas clock. This is how it comes, that wonderful shiny red. I love how she took that linen tape right around the edge, just completely changed up the look, gave it a great plaid look. There you can see the metallic droplets, how they're used. So it just gave him kind of like just a sparkly nail head. And this whole entire thing is just, it's tinsely magic. So I'm going to turn this on, because there's tiny lights in there. But look at the backdrop. So the backdrop is deco sheets. Can you see that back there? Let me turn it off again. Let's see, there we go. There's the deco sheet. If you look in the back, it's got a little sparkle. But what's great about deco sheets, look at that. It's like diamonds when you light it up. So the background is just created with deco sheets. Then she's got the tinsel going all the way around. A little snow globe in there with the tree and the droplets. There also the trees with the little snowflakes tied on as ornaments. It's just, this is like a department store window to me, right? And you've got holiday wishes. It just really looks magical because that whole view of the clock, right? Because it doesn't have glass. These don't come with glass. It allows you to pop off the back.
Cool when you light it up.
Isn't it? Like, you just see how magical. Doesn't it look like a department store window?
It really does.
It's so beautiful how that's done. And then just having that as your focal point, you can see where she just added a little bit of metallic on there and the trees. Just a charming make, Tammy. I love seeing that. And this, again, gives you ideas that whatever your theme is, maybe you're going to work in a box, maybe you're going to work in a drawer, maybe you're going to work on a panel, maybe you're going to work in a clock. But if you do love this shiny red, that's a Christmas clock. Also, great for Valentine's Day. Remember that, right? How wonderful would that be to make a beautiful love keepsake in this red clock base? Yep. Love it, love it. I'm going to turn it on again because, yeah, it's like diamonds. It's the back, right?
Yes.
It is. That's deco sheet.
Oh my gosh.
I know. Deco sheet shines like nothing I've ever seen. It is. It's like a bunch of little sparkly diamonds. And I love how she kind of created like a little pinstripe wallpaper in the back. It looks like, I don't know, maybe she did that with a needle tool or like one of those little tracing wheels, right, to poke that in. And then the droplets, those are those metallic droplets, just kind of finishes that wall pattern. It's just magical. But Tammy's a storyteller. Tammy B is a storyteller. If you've watched her makes, you totally know that.
Kim says it's a deco sheet with sewing.
There you go. Oh, see, there's actually, see, I can't even see the thread. It's sparkly. Let's take a look. Oh, wow. See, that's why I wouldn't recognize it as sewing, because I can't sew a straight line for nothing. Mine wouldn't.
As Tammy said, I machine stitched it.
Wow. Wow, wow. Of course you did. Of course you did, Tammy. That's magic. Beautiful. Department store. Let's go shopping.
Yeah, let's.
Whoop, whoop. Let's go shopping.
Happy.
Yeah. So Paula created this. This is a journal. Again, she used the tape to bind it. So the foundation of this book, these are the ideology folders. So we actually sell these mini folders that come printed, and they are printed with a gloss finish, so the same as layers and or paper dolls, right? So it has a nice thickness to it. Just a little bit bigger size, but what's nice is that you can just take this and create a book. So love how she made a little band, right? Out of wallpaper, stitched it, a little collage medium on there to kind of reinforce it. There are the eyelets. And yes, you could untie it, but I like that I was able to slide that off. Hope that's what I was supposed to do. And then just the introduction of things. So here you can see collage paper just added to that folder, because the folder comes with just kind of some basic art, but don't let that fool you, because you could cover it with things. So adding a little collage paper, then you can see there, look at that coloring job that she did. That's the snapshot that I showed you at the beginning of the live, right? That tinsel tree. But look at how she just brought that to life by tinting the photos, the same way she tints the paper dolls. I mean, come on. That is so good. Glowing red and cheerful green. That just make it magical. I love the little handwriting that we try to incorporate into the photos that we find, because we do all the paper dolls and these photos. These are photos that we purchase. We find and purchase because we want them to be part of the collection. Then over here you can see another one of those botanical layers, little inclusions where you can make a pocket and you can pull things out of it, right? There's a little piece of ephemera with that seal. Oh, look at that. She made a little prize ribbon. That's so cute. Out of the seal and that sticker, that's super clever. Taking that sticker and just cutting it, perfect on the front of a package, right? I love that. A little parcel tag, again from ephemera. Beautiful paper dolls, just tinted, layered with the ephemera. The background here, again, collage paper over those folders. And then all of this is just attached with that tape. I told you it's very, very strong tape. You can see here the label stickers. So that plastic, now you can see how the light hits them. They're just perfect. I told you that, you know, the design of this is just very, very charming. Love the pop of color in the collage paper, because it just looks like that's been painted on, because collage paper, when you use collage medium, becomes translucent. Look at the tinted, oh my gosh. Look at that coloring job. Our Hearts So Glow, that's the clippings from the clipping sticker book. So it's really nice when you see the makes of how all of those products, as random as it is, comes together. Paper dolls can be tinted with Distress Crayon as well as Distress Pencil, and Paula has tutorials for both on her blog. So see, if you follow the makers, you learn all of this trickery that they do time and time again. Wonderful. Look at that tinting, that little bit of sparkle, the layers, the droplets on there. See, the droplets just add a little bit. Did I think I would ever see Paula Cheney use a droplet? Never. But are they perfect? They are, because it's all about placement, right? Still completely vintage with those colors and all of this little added elements. That's just collage paper. I like this piece, how that comes across too, right? I love that piece and the layers on there. There's so many things, and you know, I've watched Paula color paper dolls, but I'm still just not this level. Right? But it's so cool to see how people tint them. I saw Tifa just did a reel not too long ago where she was using clear gesso as a foundation over paper dolls and adding color and gel pens. So there's many ways to do it. And that's the other thing I encourage you, is to really look at how different people do different things and find the way that works for you, right? Because the way somebody does something, it doesn't necessarily mean it will work for you, right?
Paula did say she did them all with the new pencils.
Ooh, they're beautiful. Love the colors. So good. And just seeing all these pieces, again, the whole collage element of using the layers. And this is all polygon. See, this is why we need the 2 packs. I get it. So here you can see that card. That's another layer. That creates a reveal of that tree just using the tape and the stitching. Paper dolls just come to life when you add that little bit of tinting to them. Absolutely gorgeous. Here the Carol Sweet. Again, clippings. Little ink on the background, little sparkle. I don't know if you're seeing this. See, there's little hints of rock candy throughout this whole book. So you'll see just that when the light hits it. That's the other nice thing about rock candy. It doesn't have to be that chunky glitter. This is one of my favorite snapshots. I do love that. There's 2 guys out there. He's holding a camera, right? So they're out in the snow with those cars. I love how she just tinted the background, that little bit of color. Yep. With glad hearts, to you we say, a peace and goodwill toward men. Very cool.
Oh, I like those.
December 1943. Yeah, see, they're Mario. That's Mario right there. Pants.
It is.
There you go. Me and Mario. There's Mario with it. Yeah, his man prees, you could call them. Yeah, very good. They're your man prees,
Those are
right?
cool, Pete.
Yeah, And then we've got, again, just the ephemera layers and then just the back of that book. So if you're looking for ideas, again, ideas of how you can incorporate things, and maybe you don't want to build a book from scratch. Maybe that's just not your jam. I love seeing how you can take things from die cuts like Susie did, or I'm not going to put this on right now, or just taking the file folder and creating one. Perfect. All right, moving right along. So another idea for creating makes is sometimes a make is not what you might think it is, right? So Marlies created this. This is using a vignette box, just a square box that because the vignette squares, they're 3 different size box. The outside you can see is that tape. You see that linen tape again? You guys are going to see why that plaid tape. It's only Christmas and it's just this year. So it's going to be one where you're like, I think I need plaid tape for years. We might do another plaid, but not these colors, because I think the plaid tape is good, but I do love these festive colors. Then we've got velvet trims. This is also idea-ology wrapped around. So the whole base is like a gift. Then on the top, we've got the deer. They're the new salvage deer. So these are all just beautifully metallic, Foundry Wax, I'm sure, created on there. Wood slices, pine cones, a little bit of moss glued on there. And I love these trees. I don't think I've ever seen like mauve purple trees, and I think they're great. See, Sharon doing pink trees, Marlies doing these mauve trees, but I love how it really sets off the confections. Seeing those little candy pieces and the baubles as ornaments, how charming is that, right? But then this piece, this is a box that she actually created to be removed, right? So it's just a box top that she created out of layering chipboard. So you've got that smaller piece that kind of locks inside to keep this from just, sliding off of the top. And then you've got that other piece that she created. So the lid is something that she created, just cutting out chipboard. Great idea, right? Great idea to remember to layer these things, because otherwise if you just put it there, it's always going to slide. Now it just actually fits the box. But then inside is just, I was told about this, but I haven't seen it yet. So see, I'm sure it's exactly how you packed it, because I haven't even opened this, but I hear it's just a box of magic. First of all, I always love that Marlies just leaves the threads. This is how I sew as well. Just kind of leave it. Take it out of the machine and you get what you get and you don't throw a fit. But these are all small little snippets of magic. So these could be tags, these could be ornaments, this could be card fronts. I mean, however you're gifting this, you never know how the recipient is going to use it. It's like, okay, I'm going to hang this on a tree, or I'm going to clip it onto a garland, maybe use some tiny clips or hinge clips, or I'm going to tie it onto a package. But I love all the layers. So we've got some burlap back here. You'll see some die cut of the tabs, paper dolls, ephemera, stapling things together, using a little bit of rubs, just the detail of all of these tags, right? Die cut, there's little layers on there. There's some of that tinsel. Again, this could be tinted, this could be colored any which way. But if you look at all of these edges, and I'll bring up another one, because this is the thing that oh my gosh, sorry, all the threads are. This is the thing to note. Deco sheets surprise you, right? You saw it in the back how Tammy had that department store look of the deco sheets. Marlies used deco sheets on all of these tags. Now, that's the difference with deco sheets. It's not this like in-your-face glitter. It's just that vintage sparkle that goes very well with idea-ology, but adds a wonderful little touch. So you can see back here, these are just die cut, probably using the vintage labels die. Yep, the one we did in chapter 3 to add those little pieces. And now you've got, little gift tags. And I'm sure, there you go. See a little piece that pulls out. You've got that label, adding a piece of ephemera. So wonderful, charming tags. Look at all the detail. Little mirrored star, little fluted die cut, remnant rubs. You've got this one. Again, that's that label. I love those vintage labels. So good. You've got that star. The stitching, man, I need to spend more time sewing, because that, I can't go around that corner. I just go off the edge. That's my problem. But I know Mario says I shouldn't step on the gas, but that's what I do. I just like to zip it.
Hit the gas and the paper goes.
There you go. There you can see worn wallpaper. So here's a great example just up close to show you the importance of different textures and why we do it. I saw at the beginning, people said, so some are matte, some are shiny, some are thick, some are thin, some are textured. Yes, the products have different properties because we believe that when you layer them, you're going to want something that shines, like layers. So layers are always going to be glossy. You might want something that's textured. The worn wallpaper has that linen texture like wallpaper. You might want something matte. The ephemera is always going to be a matte finish, right? The remnant rubs, they're going to have an opaqueness to them. So whatever you put them on, they're still going to cover whatever you have. And then you've got that little sparkle for deco sheet. So it is nice just to kind of see all of that used, and you'll really appreciate when the light hits it, the importance of having all of these different types of substrates, right? Because all of those matter. And I'm saying this again to Tracy, because she's like, can't we just do paper? I'm like, yeah, we can, but it's really great when you see it all come together of why we want, you know, stuff shiny, but we know we can do frosted crystal, and paper dolls don't always have to be tinted. Sometimes they can, sometimes your background is colorful and you really want that to show up. So absolutely amazing. And what a great presentation of all those little tags, right? To do that in a box. Because even if you use these tags as something or as a gift or whatever, it's still a box. You could still use the box for whatever you wanted to do. So great job, Marlise. Absolutely charming. And Marlise, again, is another one of those that just, she'll go through in detail. I'm not even going to clean the glitter for this one.
Pink trees, or I'm not sure the color, but
They're-
people love them.
Yeah, they're kind of mauve. So I'm sure she'll share in her, you know, she likes to share on her videos, probably her color choice and what she did. So you're going to see from different aesthetics of makers that Christmas could be, and I've said this and I'll say it a dozen times, I'm sure, it's how you see it as makers. The beauty of ideology is that these are foundational elements that you as the maker can explore your imagination. And I just made that up, but it's the truth, okay? It's a way that we have a lot of random ideas, and I put it much more eloquently for the official definition, but that's the idea behind ideology. All these concepts of thoughts that you can create as a maker for your aesthetic. So Zoe created this. I love, it's 2 vignettes. So we've got the vignette box, the square, and then we've got the regular vignette box that is the rectangle. She's got some tiny lights in there. So one is kind of, she's got the boxes flipped. So she's using the panel for one and the inside for another. So there you go when it comes to vignettes. You can use the outside as the panel or the inside as the true vignette. But just the idea, many makers do a whole storytelling behind it. I'm not quite sure of the exact story, but this is my interpretation at first glance, because I noticed a skull, okay, and I saw that in her sneak peek, that little masquerade skull right there. But all of these kind of random elements, and then Christmas loading. And we talked about, you know, how this time of year is that tug of war between Halloween and Christmas, right? 2 holidays collide, kind of the nightmare before Christmas. And I think this is kind of an interpretation of that creatively. And I think that the idea behind it is brilliant, because we've got Christmas loading. Look, there again, Zoe using droplets. Who knew? But they're perfect for this. You've got those large gears. Then you've got that gauge frame, Season of Magic, that candy cane, kind of like the little lever to get everything going. And it's loading up. And here you can see inside that you've got drippy candles, which would work, because drippy candles, although they came out for Halloween, they are magic at Christmas. Magic. The candle stand, but it's kind of like the 2 holidays collide, where Halloween is kind of on its way out, but Christmas is totally taking over with, I love the number blocks, right? Beautiful. I believe these are going away too. The glass domes, the woodland trees, there's some tiny lights in there. So see, tiny lights can even be used to illuminate, meaning just because you have lights doesn't mean you have to wrap them around the tree. Adding that little bit of glow at the bottom is going to, I mean, I'm sure when the lights are out, it's going to cast a glow to this at night. And I love seeing the little jars filled with things like this is tinsel. So she's got tinsel in there just cut up. So just because that tinsel comes as a trimming, just cut it up and fill it in the jar. Little mirrored star at the top. Again, more candy. These are all corked vials back there, so you can put the confection stick. Little rock candy on there. There's the bell. See, isn't that shape just magic? Now you know why we needed that bell. And there we've got that wreath. So you're going to see this painted many times. This is that same charm that I shared with you. This is why when we do charms, especially for Christmas, that we want something that's going to be so detailed, is because we know that we want to paint it, right? So this will allow us to paint the bow, the berries, the leaves, using distress paint, because all those elements are sticking up separate of one another. Very, very cool make. Just fun, because it's got that kind of steampunk vibe, but wonderful vintage vibe. Yep, really cool. So there's our little light. So see, I'm turning on and off so you can see. It just adds that glow to the bottom. Tiny lights for the win. A little bit. So very cool make, Zoe. And I love just the black of it. And then she's got just a couple little elements. So you can say, okay, here's a little ephemera ticket here. Put a little ephemera piece back there. And there is that little tape at the top with the icicles. Just cool. See, every maker just does, they just do them.
Loading is awesome.
Yeah, that's it. They just do them. All right. Speaking of doing them, take a look at this one. So Vicky created this. It is a wonderful kind of tree lot display. To me, it's like a tree pageant, but it's packed with details. I could tell just from when I touched it. Okay, so first off, Vicky loves industrial steampunk just like Zoe does, just like I do. I love stuff a little bit more worn and weathered. So here you can see backdrops used on a vignette, but here's where all those nails come in. Remember I talked about the tack nails. Tack nails could be stick them in and then hammer them flat. So it really looks like something is hand built, like this box was kind of put together and then some of the nails didn't go through and they're just smashed and bent. That's the cool thing about the tack nail, because they are soft enough that just hammering them can bend and kind of maneuver and shape however you want them to be, right? Then she created this whole foundational piece all the way around, okay? So when you see all of those pieces, we've got backdrops, that's the wood backdrops. Then we've got, this is also part of the backdrop. She used the wallpaper scrap trim, also mixed with some backdrops. Then on the top, you can see the join here, that's all wallpaper scraps. Then she has all of those tree stands. Then you get to see that little bit, all that little snow that's kind of dusted over it. That's the snowfall grit paste. And then we see this. This is really the magic part of it. She's got tiny lights for each of these trees. It's like a tree lighting ceremony. Take a look at that. Come on. 3 different strands of tiny lights on these trees. She has those plaques right there. Season of Magic, Holiday Wishes, Peace on Earth, also attached with tack nails. But I love how she decorated each tree. So here is the tree that's got tinsel. It's got the little mirrored stars. Then this one is pine on pine. I thought that was very cool. That pine trimming wrapped around a pine tree. She used all the tiny bells and droplets, right? So it doesn't even have to be, it can be some baubles, but I like that they're small enough they go on the tree. Then we've got that fringe. So this is what I was saying for the fringe. And I will say, like, I love these little birds. Right? These little birds, these remind me of the birds that are from one of the adornment packs. Maybe the Milagros pack, but I don't know. Maybe they're just like little plastic birds, maybe. But I love how she just decorated each tree totally unique and different and created a display. Perfect for the mantle. And then each one, of course, is on a tree stand. So this is where if you're going to display the tree as the tree, put it in a tree stand, because it really adds to the whole aesthetic of that make, that the trees are on the tree stand, totally visible. And even if you didn't want to make all 3 of them, what I like about a make like this also, it gives you an idea of like, wow, I'm just going to make a tree, put the stand, decorate it how I want, put it on a little box, put a little tiny lights, and that's it. Like, I'm going to have one little tree. It's a display for my desk, a display for whatever. Oh, they are adornments. There you go. I kind of recognize it, but man, I haven't seen them used, and I think it's a brilliant way to use them. I just love it. I think it's so cool. Just that each one is independently illuminated, but also, I love the hand-forged nail look of that. So she did. Oh, Mario, you are witty today. You got it. That's super good.
I gotta go nail
love
it.
it. Yeah, that's a whole inside joke. When Vicky was here, she was like, "Oh, Mario, I need to nail some stuff." So they went out on Mario's work table, and well, Vicky did, but she nailed the thing right to Mario's table. It was hilarious. So good. Anyway, great make. Again, seeing the maker's personality shine in their makes, that's what's always important to remember, right? So here's a display panel that Paula created, and we create for many different things, right? This is going to be, I believe it's going to be a tutorial that will be on Joanne, joanne.com on their website maybe next month. So we often do tutorial projects for them as well, just to show how the stuff goes together. And so there's a complexity to it, and then there's a simpleness to it, because not every make should require 4 or 5 hours to do. If you have that to spend, great. But that's what I love about also creating tutorials that are easy to do. You can sit down with a couple packs of things and build. So this is a vignette panel. Here you can see collage tiles mixed in there, some backdrops. There's a little layer frame. I love how these trees are done, some little icicles. I like the confections back there. Look how Paula just kind of cut them in different heights, just to add behind the trees a little bit of glitter, a little sparkle. Love seeing how these layers, this is another thing about layers on layers, just with some foam. Sorry to show off the mechanics, Paula, but I think it's important to show that, right? So sometimes you can use little wood pieces, or you can use foam to create whatever depth you need to to tell the story or build the scene. They're the icicles with rock candy. To me, that changes everything about those plastic icicles. It gives them such a wintry vibe. Little glossy accents, a little rock candy, and off you go. And then you can see that tinsel. I like how she was able to essentially create a bow out of tinsel because it's wired that you can add to that frame. Little snowflake adornment, but what a great make, just using tiles, layers, and imagine from those packs how many of these you can create. That's the other thing to remember, right? You get a pack of backdrops, you get a pack of collage tiles, you get some layers. You can make many of these. They could be on panels, they could be on canvas, they could be on whatever it is you create, right? Etc. tags, any foundation, you can take the same idea with it. But that's why we like to also include frames, not only in layers, but baseboards, because it does give you a focal point to build on, right? To tell your little story. Great, great to make. Can't wait. So good. All right, I'm gonna move this out of the way. Okay, we're bringing it. How are we doing, Mario?
Doing very good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Oop,
Oh, easy.
kick the glass. Okay. Moving on. So this one, okay, there is a story behind this one a little bit. So, and thank you, Paula, for doing this. So here's a story. The story behind this is that Paula created a similar project. I believe it was last year. She did some Matchbox projects. She did them for Halloween. She did it every day. She did Christmas. And it was one of my favorites. I absolutely loved it. And so when she sent in her makes, she was done. They were beautiful. Don't get me wrong. All her makes are amazing. And I said, oh, gosh, do you still have that Matchbox thing that you made? Because I would really love to just show it. It's a great idea. The Matchboxes are these idea-ology Matchboxes. They're just plain. They're made out of kind of a thick craft cardstock, but that's got the little drawer, the wrap. They're just empty Matchboxes, but they're great for collaging. And she created this. This is a vignette tray using the Matchboxes. And she's like, no, I don't have that, because many of the makers sell their work after the lives as well, because all their makes are returned to them. So many of the makes, if you like some of the projects, you should follow them, because many of them announce when they're going to sell them. So she sold that make. And I was like, oh, okay. But she goes, but I kind of have something, I can throw something together. She did this make that night and overnighted it the next day. We just got it yesterday morning. So thank you, P, for, I mean, I can't imagine making this in just a couple of hours. And I say couple, but I'm sure it took her more than a couple hours. But I'm saying in a night setting. These are the Matchboxes that I'm talking about. They're wrapped in craft. They have that great little drawer. But she utilizes them where she uses the outside as a layer and the drawer as another layer. Then the outside and a drawer, and the outside and a drawer. And I think this is so brilliant for an advent calendar idea, or just a way to do little tiny compartmental stories. Sometimes as a maker, I feel that it's overwhelming of how do I put all that stuff together, right? When you see that muffin tin, you're like, okay, I see all that stuff, but how do I put it all together without it just looking like a creative casserole, okay? This is a great way, because here you can see, you can just add that deer with that little tinsel and some snow. Or this one happens to be one of the heirloom flowers that she used in embossing glaze, maybe some foundry wax, and it looks like a pine cone, right? With a little bit of pine. And that pine, that's that same trim, but when you glue it and smash it and glitter it, it becomes more organic looking with the bells. They're the snowballs. So these are the bubbles, not baubles. These are the ones from Halloween that make icy snow, the little confection scene. And then the outside, you can still use stickers, papers, all those other trims. There's a little wreath with that bell, right? That little Christmas bell, and there's the ribbon. See what I mean? How the bows don't really move? Isn't that a great trick, right? It looks so flowy, but it's really strategically placed thanks to collage medium, because collage medium dries totally matte. Drippy candles for the win, and look how sparkly they are with a little bit of glitter on there, sitting on a wood slice. Then you've got the frames. So these are one of the adornment deco frames. I love this. It's a pack of all little tiny frames. Look at how she alcohol inked those stones. Beautiful. Little ephemera piece, little tree with a red base, and the calendar. There's the seal, there's the flare. But look what she did to the front of the flare. There's a little bit of glitter on there. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little bit of sparkle just kind of rubbed over the top. There's the new Santa with Foundry Wax. Look at, he's all gilded and magical. And then that piece, that's a baseboard piece, little chipboard piece, and the mirrored star. So all these little details, it allows you to use all those trinkety bits, to me, in a manageable idea, right? That's the thing, a manageable idea. So to me, it's so amazing to create a piece like this and just build. So she made it that night. I'm sure she Yeah, she said she had to let it dry overnight, and then she shipped it to us, and there we have it. So thank you, P. See, it's beautiful. You can see it in all its glory because it is gorgeous. And look at that plaid.
Tartan.
That little plaid is so, so good. But beautiful make. This
Beautiful.
one of my favorites because I've said to her before, like this idea, you don't have to undertake this tray. You could do this idea in a square vignette and use 2 matchboxes. Done. You can do it in a rectangular vignette and use 1 matchbox. Done. So it's the idea of this that I find incredibly brilliant, right? That's why I like to, and I said, I want to see a matchbox, like as long as we have them in the line, I want to see a matchbox make every release because the idea to me is incredibly timeless and can be adapted to so many different things all the time. Okay? That is the importance. The importance of the make. All right, let's bring this in. We're keeping it going. I would like to say we're halfway, but we're not. So I told you, have snacks, have a seat, get comfortable. All right, so this is a make from Emma. I'm going to turn it on. There's tiny lights. I feel it under there. Oh, there we go. It's for the lantern. Okay, so here we've got a foundational piece. Emma just cut this. Probably, maybe it's an etc. tag. But this is using one of the vignettes, just kind of the small tray. Take a look at this little story. So I'm going to set it this way. It's kind of weird because it's sitting on a base, so it can't really sit flat. So I'll prop it up. So excuse my hand. But this is the story. This is the scene. So we've got this whole backdrop here. I love the gates. So these are the iron gates that we did for Halloween. They only come out for Halloween. But look at how great they are for Christmas. I love how Emma painted them black, did the little finials gold, added some of that snowfall on there. See what makes that snowfall grit paste so important? Because you can add just little bits and it adds that touch of snow. There's the tinsel garland, how you can bend that. Little clock in the back. I love the packages and all the little baubles just kind of flooding out. A little tree and a thimble. These are also idea-ology, little metal thimble. I think these are going away, maybe. I think so, I'm not sure. These are everyday line. Then you've got the confections, another little package. There's our Santa. Look how she painted him. He's so cheerful and jolly. Look at the deer. Oh, there's Rudolph. There's his little red nose. Love that. He's a little shiny, so you can shine him up by either resist spray or glossy accents. Then we've got all these trees. And so this is what I love about woodland trees. I love adding a little bit of paint or collage medium or mica flakes. That's what you see, all this little wintry look, or rock candy. And then we've got our lantern. So this one, she painted it red. The beauty of that lantern is you can paint it with distress paint, any color, and that's where the tiny lights come into play. So there's a little tiny light under here, and you just on and off. And this is what's interesting about tiny lights. I understand that tiny lights, you have maybe there's 20 something lights on there, but they are designed to be cut. And many makers get all weird about that. They're like, oh, I don't want to, what am I, I'm wasting the light. I'm like, but you bought the lights to light something up, correct? And if you want to light up everything, well, then go for it. You got enough to do it. But if you just want this to be more wintry outdoors and you just want that to be the glow, to me, there's nothing wasteful about cutting the rest of the lights off and using the part that you want to use versus not using it at all. So I do love always seeing the idea of, hey, I'm using tiny lights for the lantern because that is how we designed that lantern to specifically light up with a tiny light. And there it is. Magical make. And very cool. I love was the hardware, and this is one of my favorite papers. I'll show you from the back in backdrops, right? This is another one of Chris's wonder. This is a candy tin that I own. It is a big round tin, and he actually rolled the tin across the scanner to scan this art. So that's why we have all those fabulous candy sticks. I'm like, how did you do that? He's like, I just rolled it across the scanner. I'm like, you just kind of followed the pace of the scanner? Yeah, see, that's his brilliance. Isn't that good?
That was really fun.
So good. Yeah, when I saw that, I'm like, I really wish this could be paper. He's like, send it to me. I got it. Very cool. Another beautiful make. Another beautiful make indeed. Okay, let's see. Let's do this one. Let's do this Susie book, right? Because I want to open it. That's why. So this, I'll just tell you what Susie emailed me. And so, it does make more sense now, Susie, but she wanted to create a book, a concept where you can add things to it. You can add signatures to it. So if you're a bookmaker, that will resonate even more with you. But instead of creating a binding that was just done, she developed this idea where you could add different things. And so she's got boxes and folios and all sorts of things in there. And again, Susie does a great job on her YouTube channel. where she takes you in depth on how her books are done as well. So the foundation, of course, is paper, but the front and back are using the baseboard frames, right? So these are those chipboard frames. Those are essentially, if you look at that, those are the covers of the book. Does that make sense? That's what she used as the covers. Then she added just all sorts of different elements. I love the texture, of course, in here where we've got all that little nuggety bit of grit. So I'm embossing glaze, a little crayon. I like that she just used Mary and cut off the rest of it. I also love the fact that there's like the droplet that's embedded. That I thought was very clever. Punch a hole, because at first I'm like, is that a metallic brad? I'm like, no. She punched a hole and then like shoved that droplet in there to make it look like a metallic nail head, and you got the little candies there. So let's open it to explore it. So bear with me because I'm just trying to follow from memory what she said about this book. Something's going to happen on the next page, but I hope I do it right. Okay, what I can tell you just from seeing it is, again, she used frosted crystal on most of the things, and I do love that. So thanks for using it, Susie. It's a great visual of how frosted crystal can turn any kind of shiny thing like a photo into that matte finish. It also gives it a great texture. So it kind of diffuses it. That's what I would say. It diffuses the imagery. It doesn't distort it. It just gives it a little softer look. Here you can see the layers of paper, photos, backdrops. There's a little charm on there, right? One of the adornments. And then there, oh, there's the rest of it. So we've got, oh, see, look at that, Captain Obvious. There is merry and bright. Now I got it. See? Because I don't know what's going on until I figure it out. But then I can connect the dots. I am that savvy. So I love how she chopped that up. And you could read it from the outside if you paid attention, Holtz. Okay. Then when we open this up, there's another one of those. It's so cool to see makers using it different. So this is one of those adornment deco frames. They're just small frames. I think there's 5 different styles in one pack, and they're just great because they're so detailed, but actually quite thin that you can use for books. I love seeing that photo with the little crackle on there. It gives it that wonderful wintry vibe. The torn papers, the little clips, obviously the threads and all the sewing. But then we get into this, and now you're right, Susie, it does make sense. So it appears that these signatures, and I'm sure she's going to go into more detail, so I'm not going to talk about the build, but they're all tied together from the outside. So this is what she was saying she created. She added a box, and so she made this out of paper with magnets. So she's like, so there's a book with removable things and string, and there's a box with magnets. And I was like, I'm sure that makes sense to someone. This is before I even saw the book. But now you're right. She goes, as soon as you see, you'll know what I'm talking about. So this has magnets in it, right? In the paper. So the box remains closed. Super, super clever, right? So that creates the closure. But now it is more like a folio. I get it. You open this up, and this is kind of like the idea-ology folio, but made out of paper. So there's our candy paper from backdrops. There's a little recipes. And then when you open up these little flaps, now you've got all these little wonderful things to take out. So not everything has to be attached. You've got little charming inclusions. So there, again, little chapter 3. I love the candy cane, the little envelope, the tiny clip that can hold it closed. Open it up. See, they know. I'm going to always open it to see if there's something in there, right? Great little card. But another way to secure that envelope are just these tiny clips. These are idea-ology tiny clips. Keeps it closed. Then we have this. There's that little folder, little flare. There's a little pocket. Oh, see, it pulls out that little frame. So cute. It's like an ornament. Little slide frame. Look at that. Little sparkle on there. Little ornament holder. I love little inclusions. All right, there's those antique gems. That's also idea-ology, loop pin, just fun things. But you're right, Susie. She's like, there'll be little surprises in there. So it is nice to have like a book with inclusions that create a reveal. And I think the magnet closure is brilliant on that book. And then you've got just another page with pieces. And I know a lot of people are kind of in junk journals, but I'll say this again. I told you, even if you're not into this, you're not into making books, these ideas alone for cards, for ATCs, for art journaling, whatever you do, ideas can be adapted to your format of making, right? Even if it's down to, oh, I got to remember frosted crystal, or, oh, I like the idea of adding that clear crackle, because we do have a clear crackle paint in the distress line that you put over the top. I love the idea of doing that. Or, oh, it's really cool to add those layers and just do some stitching around the edges. Those are all the ideas that are super important to remember to create. Little tiny attacher, threads. I love all these torn layers. So good. So, so good. And you can tell. I can't help but feel frosted crystal because I love the feel of it, right? Once you understand frosted crystal, you'll see why it's just so magical to use. Just great embossing. So beautiful book, right? Great book made out of baseboards, out of paper, and then build that book that you can keep adding. So very cool. All right, it's story time. It's story time because I'm picking up a Tammy B make. And how do I know it's a Tammy B make? I just know. You will too. Okay. This is the back, which is the front. Okay. So this is the Halloween vignette arched shrine that we did. So this was a Halloween thing. It's not coming back. But again, it shows you what a great shape it is, because at Halloween, it kind of looked like a tombstone, right? It could look like a coffin, but this is the shape of it. And Tammy asked us to send her one, and I was like, okay, yeah, it's Halloween, but go for it. But look what she created. She created this whole little Christmas house from the back. So this is the back of it. There's our baseboard door. There are the 2 adornment wreaths, because you get 4 in a pack. So, you know, that's another thing. We're makers. Don't be chintzy with the stuff. You buy it to use it. Not like, oh, I don't want to put 2 on the same make. I mean, come on. Here we've got that snowfall grit paste built up right against the door. The window that she's painted. There's a 3rd wreath. So there you go. Almost the pack is gone. That's totally worth it. Then we've got all that buildup of the snow in the windows. We talked about the snowfall grit paste and using it to build up in the panes of the window. We did that in the distress demo last week. Then we've got the wonderful detail of the rooftop. So this is using the dies from Sizzix, because there's different shingle dies in the village set. But are you ready? Because I put this in last night, and it's when I opened that I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Here is the entire workshop. So look at the story going on in here. Let's just talk about it. So first, we've got this pine garland, right? Where she's got all the little postage stamps in there. She's got candy, she's got droplets, okay? Special delivery. So this is like Santa's workshop, all the letters to Santa. And I know Heidi is gonna love this because she's got the little nice and naughty, right? So whereas the mail is sorted into the workshop, it already goes into the nice or naughty. Nice being little Santa's mailbag, naughty just going into, this is a Halloween cauldron. So the little pot of coal, and if you look in there, she's got like Santa with a little eye blacked out, and it's so good. But these up here, these are laboratory bottles. So these are part of the everyday. These are those like flask bottles that she put upside down. These things, these are the odds and ends, which sadly these are going away next year. But this is a pack of weird charms, like this little steam wheel, this little clock key. One of my favorite SKUs. It didn't last more than a couple years, and it was all like my favorites that we kind of brought back. But so brilliant that she used the laboratory to kind of create the little mail chute that goes into the naughty and nice. And then this sorting window, again using the baseboard window to do like a mail sorter. She's got packages and all of these labels. That's all Curator. So those little labels that we see for Halloween that you put on vials, that I've only ever thought of those as like bottle labels or poison. I never thought of them as like address labels or postcards. And now it's like, it's so brilliant because they all have handwriting. Little handwriting that you can't read anyway. So how cool are all those little packages tied up with string, the little envelopes? I mean, Curator for the win. Thank goodness that snippet SKU is every day, because honestly, I've never seen it used on anything other than, well, for bottles. So well done, Tammy B. So cool. Then we've got that little garland. Again, the joy of that pine, that you can bend it, and little collage medium with the glitter. That's what's giving it that texture and shape. And then just more packages. I mean, wrapping alone, you know, we can barely wrap a big package, Mario. So let alone like these things, I don't see how they can wrap something that small, but it's absolutely beautiful. And then you can see the layers and layers of that design tape, right? Going around that little trim. And here we've got those label stickers. So I love how she cut them down and used those label stickers as that sorter. So there is the make in its entirety. So you've got the front, see what I mean? This needs to like go on a Lazy Susan or something, or some sort of like revolving motorized thing that you would need to buy. But what a great centerpiece that is to see that story. Yeah, isn't that so good? Yeah, it's so amazing. Neo asked, what are the packages made of? I'm not sure. We'd have to find out from the maker. Probably little, I'm not sure if she used little blocks of wood or they're all fabulous. And I'm sure she'll share because, like I said, many of the makers share exactly what they use. Maybe they're little pieces of wood, or I'm not sure, but they're perfect, aren't they? Look at all those little packages.
I just can't believe how they're wrapped so perfectly.
So good, yeah. And all the little string. Look at all those little knots to tie. But I love how that little pot just, yeah, it creates a little naughty and nice. Fun story, right? Fun story. Even just this, like I do want to have a little pile of brown paper packages, right? Maybe I'll kind of reach out to Tammy B. She can help me. We hooked her up with some candy corn lights. Maybe she can hook me up to some little packages. They're adorable. I just want to hold them in my hand. So cute, right? Just like, I know. I see Vicky and Zoe fell off your chair. I agree. Oh, see, Tammy B is right here. Tammy B, they are asking like, what are the foundation of the packages? Are they pieces of wood? I mean, they are. They're wrapped like, seriously. But the curator, like, come on. Just seeing something made. Oh, and I just noticed, look at the...
They're just wood blocks and chipboard to make the packages.
There you go. Wood blocks and then chipboard to make it. Look at that little design tape on the edge. It's just the detail. But again, if you're that kind of maker that, you know, once you get into the story, if you're not, and that's what always surprised me, because these makers are making, you know, under a time crunch. But to sit there and go, you know what, I just want to sit there and just make a bunch of little packages. It's charming. The idea, charming, because that could be used all the time. All right. Then we've got this little card file, and you've seen this throughout the year, which is great. You've seen it every day when we launched it. You saw Halloween versions, and so I'm really happy that Paula made a Christmas version. So this is the vignette card file. So this is a vignette box. It comes with those dividers in there. See those wood dividers? There you go. It already comes built into the box, and this box comes with this hardware already attached to it. You can remove it because there's screws. So if you're going to cover it with paper like Paula did, you can remove the hardware. I love how she did, that whole little section fell out. I love how she went in and used the label sticker there, right, to do Holly and Jolly. That is the backdrops. I love the plaid. But then we've got all of these cards. And the cards, there's many things that can fit in here. There are ideology cards that will fit in there. There are file cards that contain folders, folded cards, pockets. If you have chapter 3, you can use chapter 3. If you do artist trading cards, you can fit many different things in here. But what's nice is that you can either use this as a creative sorter, if you will, like maybe you're going to make cards and you're going to leave them in here until you send them, or it's just a make that can sit on your table. If you are a scrapbooker, memory keeper, like to incorporate photos, this kind of make for the holidays is brilliant because you can create this as a foundational piece now, and then throughout the season, as you take photos of family, friends, yourself, pets, decorations, whatever for the season, you can add those photos onto these things. And then by the end of the season, you essentially have this photo keepsake. If you're not into photos, then don't do that. But it is a great way that you can incorporate photos into your makes. Here you can see this is just the Idea-ology metallic, I just love it, metallic craft stock. That's it, metallic craft stock die cut with the Sizzix bold text. Created that little window. There's some acetate on there. That's a card. Other cards where you can just add layers on things. I mean, the cards could be made out of anything. You can have just a die cut file card, or you can use the file cards from Idea-ology. I'll just kind of do it this way. I'll keep stuff in the box just to stay organized. You can finish the fronts or backs. It's totally up to you, because to me, these can also just be an entire file of card fronts. I stick that on a card, a little foam square, I'm done. All right. This one that's got that little bit of tape wrapped around and stitched on there. Oh, this is a card. Look at that. That's clever. I just saw that. Little hinge sewn, so that's another card. So maybe it's just a gift that you're going to make someone of all types of different cards that they want to incorporate. There's a little flare on there with the mini pin pinned to that tape. Another card. Cute, right? So cute. Look at this, a little paste through a stencil, little pocket. So these are all the Idea-ology cards now that I see them. I love that. Another one, the mica stain and the texture paste. So cute. So this could be attach a Starbucks gift card. Look at that mica stain. You know it. Mica stain for the win, especially when you see it in the wild like this. Paper dolls. Again, another one of those cards. So even repetition, when you're sitting there and you're like, okay, I'm going to take those layers, take some of that linen tape, make these cards, do a little sewing detail or not. Totally up to you. Oh, I love this. Look at this fringe. Look at that. Look at that little bit of gold on the edges. I mean, that is vintage fabulous right there. Right there. I'm sure this is trimmed down a little bit because it is crepe paper. You can trim it down, but really, P, that little bit of gold, that's just fabulous. And then tinting, isn't that so good?
So good.
And I love that photo. I do. See, she's actually sitting right here. This is the original.
Oh, look how good Paul colors.
Yeah, this is the original photo. I have it sitting right off the side in that, if you've seen that little wooden divider that I have, I keep this because she brings a smile. So I look at her every time before I go live, and it just reminds me to just like make life enjoyable. I love this photo. So yeah, it sits there right with my other photo booth, but it's right on the top because I have to look at it. But yeah, beautiful, beautiful tinting, and then just another card. So each of these, again, just could be repetition of ideas, right? Start with your metallic, use your layers, use your stickers. I love seeing the sparkle. Some of these could be cards that, again, you can journal inside. You can add photos to them, right? You can really make, look how cool, the paper dolls, and I think those botanical cards are very cool. So these cards are all from the botanical layers. So some of them are just cool panels. All that water staining, that's on the actual card. Chris did an amazing job with the staining on there. Look at that little sparkle. Can you guys see that? On Santa, she's got just a little sparkle. Glitter's so hard on camera, but little sparkle on his beard and the fur right there. Just absolutely stunning. Love that. We do love the plaid. It is a favorite. Love the plaid. Look at the, again, more mica stain through a stencil. So if you look, oh, see, there it is again. Good God, I got to do this. I do. I can't stop that. That's just, it's so, because normally with fringe, like I wad it up into a ball to where it's like, it's a fluffy little chia pet, and I love it. But this is like, I don't know. Can you hear it? I put it up to the mic. It's like this little, I don't know. It's very cool. Beautiful tinting job. Again, baby, it's cold outside. I love the colors and all the work on this. And I think, when you see this, this is where compartmental making comes into play. You can sit down one day and do all your die cutting. You can sit down one day and add glitter to your pieces. You can sit down one day and die cut or do coloring of your paper dolls. A lot of different things that you can add, and then you can just do your embellishments, maybe add your little stickers, maybe do some collage medium or stencils or mica stain. You can do all of those different elements, different things, and then you can put it all together. And I'm sure, just because I've seen repetition, that she would not want two mica stain things in the same divide. See?
That's probably my fault.
Am I right, Paula? Because I know Paula's a thinker like me. It's like metallic, 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 paste, 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 fold, fold, fold. Yeah, then that's cool. But look at all those things. So if you're sitting there, again, it's only October, and so many people are already making excuses about, I don't have time to make, I can't make. Yes, you can. You can make it any level, even if you just start creating stuff and put it in a box like this. You'll be surprised how many things you fill up by just doing a little bit each night. It's just fabulous. Cool use. All right. So I hope you're sitting down, because I did make nothing fabulous, but I've really wanted to make all year, and as much as I tell you at the end of the lives, like, make time to make, it's like, I've tried to make time, but then
You have tried every day.
every day for like almost 2 months, and I have my stuff set up. I have my muffin tin. I say tomorrow, today is a make day, and then reality, right? A million meetings, deadlines I wasn't anticipating on, because really designing for 6 different brands, it's
And I'm like, how's your making going?
it's the gift that keeps on giving. But I did make, and I'm happy that I did it, because I love the joy of making, and it doesn't have to be anything. So this is just one of my favorite types of makes to do, because it doesn't require thought. I've always said that. This is just taking a vignette display panel, using the collage tiles to collage them down. So this is a full set of collage tiles, so you get 2 each. So if you wanted to, you could make 2 of these exact same things out of 1 pack of collage tiles, and I like that. But what I did on mine, instead of gluing them all down, some of them I glued to chipboard squares and then just mounted them with foam tape, okay? But then, because I was just kind of getting into it and I wanted something a little bit more woodland, I went in to these divides and just added tack nails here and there. So you'll see on the back a bazillion tack nails coming out of the back. Probably if you were going to give it to someone, you may want to cover that with, I don't know, craft foam, or cover them with tape, but I hammered them down a little bit. But I just like that. I thought that it just gave it a little bit more interest. You know, they're not everywhere, but they're just kind of here and there. I added the bells because, well, I do like the little jingly bells. See, there's my little crunchy bow. Painted the little adornment. There's a little, I loved these guys. These were little numeric. These got retired, but they were a whole set of metal. A little star on a wood slice. A pen nib, that's from Everyday Ideology. A little half tree, because I like those. This is from last year because, again, as a maker and as a brand, I don't care about using stuff that's old. Some people are like, you can't use that. That's from last year. I'm like, watch me, right? Because I have it. And I encourage you, if you have it, use it, right? It doesn't matter what year it's from. Here's a little Confections candy cane. I just cut the end off because I thought that it was too long. There's a little seal with some crayon inside. And then because I love vintage, it's a real glass ball. So another thing, when you find antique stores or junk stores, like the old Christmas bulbs, they're fantastic. Then a little splatter paint, but this is just done with collage medium crayon. Nothing fancy, but it makes me happy, and it's lightweight and it could hang up or become a gift, but that's what I like. I like the haphazard dimensionalness. The nails, as you can see, I didn't hammer them in all the way because that's kind of just how I wanted it to be. So if you like vintage stuff, to me this was easy. I will say, honestly, start to finish, this was just a couple of hours because there's nothing else you can do but put the squares down. You don't have to get all funky, but it's fun. Well, yeah, but that's it. That's what I liked. That's what I liked. All right. And then you'll really see like a make in action, right? So I show you that, and then Vicky's like, oh yeah? Well, where do you see my make? Okay, take a look at this. This is like, I'm gonna light it up because there, again, tiny light, one light in the lantern. Maybe there's two little lights in there, but I have two makers that did just the light for the lantern. So well done, well done. And Paula had her lantern with the tree. But take a look at this steampunk box, right? So here you've got vignettes. Now, Vicky's not afraid of a saw. Let's just say that, okay? So Vicky often makes her own pieces out of ideology pieces. So let me just try to break this down the best I can. And Vicky, if I'm wrong on something, please shout it out. So, oh, thanks, you guys. Thanks. I appreciate that. So this is a whole steampunk. There he is in there. I'm going to get the light to light him up. There we go. See his goggles? Okay. So he's a whole little steampunk kind of Christmas wood lumberjack guy. Is very cool. It's a vignette box, a square. Then it looks like another vignette square box sawed in half and then put on the outside because I kind of look from the mechanics. See, it's a box and then like two halves of the same box that she glued together, what I'm guessing, right? But then we've got the clock. Now the curio clock has that base, but that base is removable, okay? That base can be unscrewed and you don't need it. And I love that the clock, and Vicky's done this before, I think she did it for Halloween, fits inside this box. I think Jan did one as well, using a clock on a box, but you can remove the base and it fits perfectly in here. But then she's got the wood slices, she's got the gears, she's got machine heads, she's got just that whole black and red and neutral going on. See what I mean about just that rough saw cut of these wood slices? Most of the ones that I found in craft stores, they were all sanded smooth. I hated that. Like, I don't want just the smooth wood. That's what we used to have. I love this rough cut because it creates a very cool texture. Then she's got the lantern. Take a look at this deer. It's black and it looks like it's made out of lead. It's absolutely fabulous. Look at the little scarf. I just noticed that. Look at that done out of the tape. She made a little scarf for the deer using that tape. There is the gauge frame. There are the jingle bells. See, that is another favorite. Pointy finger for the win. And then she's got the paper doll. Now, I don't recognize this paper doll. So I'm guessing, Vicky, that I can't see it enough. I'm guessing it's two because we just didn't do that guy with a top hat and a plaid coat. So to me, it looks like the lumberjack guys. There's like the guys that are in plaid and the top hat guy that I can't see it enough. I think you cut and put two together.
Yes, it's two mashed up.
See? We know our people, but he's very cool. See his arms crossed with the gloves. And then you've got, look at that, just that little joy back there. Now see, this is one of those things that like you wouldn't think, oh, I'm going to put a little word in the back of the back of the back behind the guy. Why not? Because when people are looking through it like me, it's those little happy surprises, that little joy. There's the gears in the back. Just what a cool make. And then the whole thing is sitting on like a linen plaid, almost like a blanket, just using that tape. And the lantern just lights up. And then she's got remnant rubs. So the remnant rubs on the lantern. There's a little piece of ephemera back there. There's rubs right there on that gauge frame with the little dial, and just that red clock. And I love that plaid. See, she did like what Tammy did, right? Added that, but Vicky just decided to like tatter hers up. Just go in, because it's that canvas, you can rough that up. Just really cool. And I see that she did. She even sanded some of this. I love seeing some of the reveal of that metal, right? Going over that with either sandpaper or steel wool, get off some of that paint. See, this is where you can take a make to any level. Obviously, I took the route of just gluing squares down, but I wanted to make something and not do anything, right? And I just think that you should never be intimidated. You should always be inspired. And that is what makers do. They just inspire. Absolutely fabulous make. So see, we have Zoe. I told you, like Zoe and Vicky, just that steampunk Christmas, it can completely be that, right? Or just the idea alone of saying, okay, I love the idea of just gluing wood slices on something. Okay, I love the idea of just taking the base of that clock and putting it in one of those square vignettes. All of those things are going to be great ideas to use. But yeah, that black deer, now you can really appreciate the kind of geometric carved look of it, because really he does look like he's made out of metal, like lead.
He's awesome.
He's very cool. Cool make. Okay, so next up I kind of sorted some makes, because with seeing all these fabulous makes, amazing makes, sometimes it's like, well, wait a minute, what about on time? What if I want like quick makes? So these now, and I'm not saying that it took the maker no time. So maker, those that made this, I know all of that took you time, but I also know that this is something that you could do over a weekend, and you can make, all right? So the first thing is going to be a little festive tin of cards that Sharon created. So here is the idea-ology tin, little festive tin. I love that she put a little piece of ephemera and some layers on there. But when you open the tin, it is filled with adorable little mini cards, right? Look at that little stack of cards. Remember, I've said before that not everyone makes. And sometimes giving a gift of handmade things that you can re-gift to other people is so impactful. And I think as makers, sometimes we think we have to give the finished make, right? Like, here's the thing and it's already done. But creating things that they can then go and gift to other people, that's really, really impactful. So Sharon created all of these cards that fit in this tin. What size card? Well, whatever card you want to cut. Maybe you want to do the squares going this way. Maybe you want to do rectangles going this way. You just cut your cards, and they could either stand up. Now, obviously, if they stand up, they come a little bit taller, but knowing that they're going to lay down, you can have a bigger card in here. And I think that's really, really smart. Now, these cards, again, repetition of an idea, they all have tape on the edge. Now, some of them have the design tape, some of them have the linen tape, but you can see they all kind of follow the idea of taking paper. Then you have, whether it's wallpaper, backdrops, whatever you want to make the card from. Then you've got the center of this. These happen to be the collage tiles, right? So those little squares, that's already a card front. And then you just add your embellishments. Maybe it's a droplet. Maybe it's a little piece of ephemera. Each one of these has a little clipping sticker. So just taking out each idea, you're like, okay, wallpaper. This one happens to be a label from the sticker book. Then you've got little stars punched out of deco sheets, right? If you have a paper punch or die cut, now you've got little sparkly stars that are flat. And you can make them in different colors because you can alcohol ink this. Or if you buy the winter pack, now you've got all those great little colors of blue and silver. And these are just, it's a cool way to take an idea and do repetition. So collage tiles, label stickers, more collage tiles using the little flashcards. How brilliant is that? Like, super clever to sit down and take your stuff out and just do little card bases. Just cut them up. Right? And if the paper you're using is not thick enough for a card, then glue it onto something that is, right? Then you've got these. Again, collage tiles as a background, but now you've got the label stickers. So brilliant. So, so clever. So you can see here, 3, 6, 9, 12 cards in a tin. Boom, right? Sitting down by taking paper, taking tape, taking stickers, and it's just that quick assembly. So that's what I was saying. Like, could you do this in a weekend? Absolutely. You can just sit down, compartmental making, do these cards, put it in a tin, add a little decoration to the top of it, and that is a gift. A gift that you can give to people that want to send out great little cards, little note cards, or cards that you can make that you can give to the people that you know, FedEx, mail people, whatever. Just an idea of doing something and and making a set of those for the tin. I think that's a brilliant idea for the tin. Another great idea is creating a tin for, well, just for sweets, for candy. So Paula created this tin. She decorated the top of it. So I'm going to just take off the top. Well, first let's just talk about how she's got the label stickers right around the handle. That's really cute. But she decorated the top, and the top, although it's got the trees, the bow, that wonderful deer, little wood slice, it also has tiny lights hidden. So she's got her tiny lights right under there that light up the tree. So how fabulous to have tiny lights, because that lid raises up. You have your tiny lights in there, and this just looks so cute sitting out there, right, as a display. But then when you open it, you can have peppermints, you can have kisses, you can have any kind of candy or treat in there. But what a great idea to sit on a desk, give to a coworker, give to a teacher, do it for yourself, right? Hide your candy in there. This would need to be filled multiple times a day for me. But I think it's a great idea, and I love seeing the tiny lights. And again, just adding that piece, it's a great way to cover it up. There's more droplets. Look at that. See, those droplets they're fancy. But beautiful just to have a hole go right through, and then adding a little bit. So here, this is a cool idea for snow, just kind of taking some fill, right, some polyfill, but also go in with glitter, collage medium, and just give it a little bit more foundational piece. Magical, right? A magical idea for the tin.
Life is just better with tiny lights.
Yeah. So when you see these tins
awesome.
and you're like, what do I do with the tin? It could be anything. You could decorate the top. You can fill it with cards. You can fill it with candies. You can, and again, if you go back to last year, you'll see where scenes were actually built inside the tin also. Just, it's very cute. I do. I love that. I love it. I love it. Now, another idea is kind of thinking about creating, I don't know, like a Christmas charcuterie of sorts. So here's just like it could be a vintage lunchbox. It could be, a Christmas charcuterie, because the idea is really good. Because as makers, we like to make things, right? Sometimes you just want to sit and make things, but the things like this was just fun to make, but there's nothing else to it, but I had a blast making it. So you might sit down and decide that you want to make little things, but you don't know what to do with it. Well, I love this idea from Zoe about creating these pieces and build a display for yourself or as a gift to a friend. So here you've got a wood slice that she put this wonderful word plaque on, so Wonderful Life, slightly bent. You can bend it a little bit and add the tack nail. So now you've got your foundational piece. Then you've got all these little bits. So maybe you've been coloring trees. Maybe you've been making all these little domes that you don't know what to do with. You can build a display, right? So now you've got your display dome. Look at that deer that she did. She's got it painted in there. It's got some mica. It's got trees. It's got ribbon. It's got the bells on it. And that can just sit on the slice. Then you've got the other dome. So there's Santa. He's all painted in there. It's got little remnant rub in there. You can set him down. You've got smaller domes. This one's got the little packages. You've got little baubles, little ornaments. You can set those there. So you can have all those little pieces. Then you've got woodland trees, right? Woodland trees, and I love how she replaced the bottom of the woodland trees with the wood slices, just to give it a little bit more like kind of organic thing. So maybe we put the tree in the back, so we can kind of build this guy up. And I'm doing it, but I'm kind of cheating because Zoe already has this in a picture. So I was trying to put this to memory, Zoe. So I hope I'm doing okay. But it is what it is. It's the idea is there. You're kind of building this thing. I also love that for height, you take the idea of the trees and maybe you put two wood slices, right? So you could put a tree there, you could put a tree here, you could put a tree back there, so you get all the little height. And then you give them, maybe you don't have a vintage bottle, but you have something, you can give them mica flakes. And now the mica flakes can just go on and they can just add a little bit of snow, right? I told you, it's like Christmas charcuterie. So you're just giving them like a little sprinkling. And this would just create a wonderful gift and a great display that they can put anywhere they want. Okay, and so you're creating that, and you could include a photo of this. So if you already built it and you had the idea of how you wanted this laid out, but it is very nice because they can add things to it. They can add ornaments. They can add a photo to it. But don't underestimate the power of your creativity, because sometimes you think, gosh, I love making this, and that was really fun, and that was fun, that was fun. Oh, but I don't know how to put it all together in a vignette. Oh, I don't know what to do with all these I just love making trees. I don't know what to do with all of them. Well, here you go. Yeah. Christmas charcuterie. Just give them that whole DIY look and deliver it in a unique way if you can. Deliver it in a way that they can open it, they can unpack it, and they can create something really fun. And then it's also something that they can store it away, right? They can put all those little trinkets in. Maybe they've added stuff. Maybe you've given it to a maker friend and they've added things to it. And then you have all those pieces. We're just going to put that right in there.
So is that a
Very cute.
plaid lunchbox or a tartan lunchbox?
It is a tartan plaid because tartan is a form of plaid. Just charming. Yeah, I got it. Cute, cute. All right.
I love tartan.
I know you do. So this is another quick make idea that's really brilliant. Stacy created these gift bags. Now maybe you're a sewer. If you're a sewer, did you know I have fabric? There you go. I do a lot of fabrics that are all inspired by the idea-ology papers that I've done. So I have fabrics for Christmas, Halloween, every day. I've done fabric for years. But Stacy created these bags out of my fabrics that you could add little gifts. Maybe you can add little gift cards, other little trinkets. Here you can see she added that fringe on there, just stitch it on. But I love it's these tags that she did. So the bags are fabulous. I don't want to take away from that because I just think that the sewn bags just make it so, I don't know, so heartfelt, homespun. Very good. But these tags, this is where, again, maybe you're a tag maker. Maybe you just love making tags. Mayor of Tagtown. I love tags. So taking a tag and just going to town. It's going to be an ink tag. Maybe you're going to add, that's a little like layer of warm and natural that she did, a little pinked edge, and stitch that on there. Bits of layers, ephemera, there's some die cut botanicals, little confections, adding some buttons, adding just little scraps of fabric, some jute, some twine, all of those little pieces. There's a little bell, that's from ephemera. This little special delivery tag that you keep seeing, that's in the ephemera, right? There's the pointy finger, the mirrored star, all of these layers. And again, sewing. So if you're sewing a bag, there's no doubt you can sew paper. But I love seeing all of these pieces come together on tags and seeing the true magic of idea-ology being used in a different way. And this is the whole compartmental making. You don't think you can use a tree? Of course you can. And you can cut the back of it. You can either use a saw or, believe it or not, you can cut these wood slices with the tonic scissors. With those short snips, you can go in and just start it and it will just snap that wood. You get what you get. You might have to readjust, but it's very easy. You trim the back of the tree off so it can glue flat. But all of these ideas, there's a vintage button, some lace. These are things that can be done in a weekend, right? Maybe not the whole thing, but maybe one weekend you're making bags. Maybe one weekend you're gluing and then the next weekend you're adding the stitch details. And the next weekend you're just doing embellishing. And you've got all of these things done. And that's why I wanted to put all these ideas together, that not everything has to be in-depth. In-depth makes are amazing. Of course, that's what we've been showing you. They're magical. But that shouldn't deter you from doing anything for the season, because making as makers, it's like, it is so healing. It's like a superpower. All right. So another quick make I did, and I say a quick make because I like to remind you that things that I often show in a demo, they could have a purpose, an easy purpose. Okay. So this is an idea-ology clipboard. It's the mini clipboards that we sell. The cool thing about this clipboard is there's hitch fasteners right here that you unscrew from the back, remove this piece, so it easily allows you to paper it. So there's the plaid that is papered on there. Then you could reattach. I just antiqued this with a little white paint. I glued on one of the metal stars with collage medium because collage medium does attach metal to metal. And then remember this window? This was from last week, right? I added that little snowy scene that we were just doing the paste on a window. That's all we did. We didn't do anything with it, but you can make windows. See that little house? That was what I did when we did Paper Village like a year ago, where I used the little corrugated piece. I had that sitting in the basket. I had some trees already done, all right? I just put these things together. I took a vignette box. I added the new distressed wood grain. Couldn't have been easier because it was already done. Rubbed a little bit of pumice stone over the top of it just to try to match the color of this baseboard. And then added a little word plaque right there. There's a little wreath that hangs, right? So I did a wreath, again, made out of that pine, added some glitter. There's some droplets. There's my little bow right there. And then there's tiny lights. And the tiny lights, well, I used my die from December last year. The December die with Santa and the reindeer. There's the moon back there with a moon mask. I just used the moon mask to see what size circle I needed. And then I actually die cut that. That's using the circle label die from the vintage labels that we did in chapter 3. That large circle fits the smallest moon. So I cut that out. I put a little bit of translucent Yupo to diffuse it. I prefer Yupo, translucent Yupo, not the white, not the opaque, but I prefer that over transparency because see how it just gives that moon a soft little glow. Put tiny lights inside the house. Yeah, I had to cut the house in half. See that? The house was too wide. Scissors, it's paper. The reindeer, yeah, we lost one, but he's flying off somewhere. And then I add a little icicles back there. So it was just taking things that I had and putting it together. And that's really easy. And this whole thing is just like taped onto the top of it. It's really about like smoke and mirrors. And so in the daytime, yes, you can see the moon back there. You can see the silhouette of Santa and the reindeer, but I also like that I can hang this up because it's a clipboard. That's why I wanted that little wreath to just hang there, right? There's a little vignette hardware, little screw eye under there. But I just thought hanging on the wall, it just would make a great night light.
Yeah, it sure is.
Yeah.
Could hang on my wall.
Oh, there you
Come
go.
on, that's an awesome make.
A charming little thing. And it's a shakety shake because if I'm going to go through the trouble of adding some tape, you bet I'm going to put stuff in there to shake. So while you're probably not going to shake it on your wall, there's mic in there. Oh yeah, there's my mechanics. See what I mean?
That is window love.
That's my mechanics. So can you finish it off like the makers do? Yes. But does that mean I need to do that? No, I do me. And me says it's lights and it's some black tape. And that's good enough for me because it's designed to go on a wall, not to look at the back. But some people might want it displayed differently where the back is going to matter. So just really fun and, in my opinion, really easy because it was all stuff I already had. I didn't do it all at the same time, but that's where compartmental making is. I say that over and over because I believe in it. If I had to sit down and build a house, so get out the dies, build the house, do the roof, do the corrugated, do the paint, get out the tree, ink the tree, snow the tree, like you get it. If I had to do all those things, this would not be a quick make. But going through my buckets of stuff, I'm like, ooh, window. Yes, the baseboard windows were designed to fit these boxes. Always were. So you can find different windows to fit the boxes and you're good to go. And I just think it's fun. It is fun. Magical. All right. So we're going to go from simple to the most complex. I did save 3 makes for the end because they are over the top complex, but it's great to see detail, right? And this just shows you that you can take any of those ideas that we've shown and just take it to like next level, right? You can just go absolutely crazy with it. So this is a journal that Marlise created. So you saw kind of the previous book. You also saw how she used a lot of these elements on those tags. So that's what I was saying, that you can take an idea and it doesn't always have to be this. It could be as simple as making those layered tags or creating a book. But if you have all of those things that you've been making and building, you can certainly create a junk journal, right? A ginormous junk journal, which is so cool to do. So this piece, it's wrapped with, I love how she created like the tape on the lace, on kind of that linen ribbon, and then she's got just tons of thread. So there's stuff everywhere. That just wraps around. But this book opens up to just magic after magic after magic. So when we open it up, it's all sorts of things, right? We got little hanger things. There again, there's deco sheets. See how it just, when you look at it, it totally blends into the background. Doesn't scream glitter, but then when you see it, it's like super sparkly. Now, again, following Paula's notes, Paula emailed me. She's like, okay, on this page, I just said I was going to follow Paula's notes. I think she said untie the right. I'm going to do it. I'm only supposed to untie one side. This will be the side I'm choosing because the other side doesn't do anything. Oh yeah, this does. Yeah, it'll do so. See, I read, but I don't know if I pay much attention. Okay. So this, oh, okay, I get it now. Yes. So this unties and then, does it? Yes. Okay, good deal. Whew. Then it creates this reveal, this little open. And look at these little bags in there, little glassine. This is, oh, look, little tags in there. Very cute. So here's, again, taking those pieces. I love that. Love seeing that thin paper, collage paper. All these layers. See, that's the thing with people that do junk journals. There's like surprises at every corner. Oh, this piece comes out. Look at that. Cool tag, layered, droplets, rubs, string, pieces. There's a pocket within a pocket. Oh, there's a pocket in this too. I don't know if this comes out. Oh yeah, it does. Look at that. Santa on his sleigh. Fabulous. So good. So good. I love that with the, see, look at, there's that tape again. Because that linen tape, because it's fabric, is really going to be good for mechanics like this because they won't just rip like paper. But what a great closure, just using the slide frame from Specimen using those photos that come in the paper dolls, because there are some small photo booth in there. What a great closure. Then we've got just, yeah, there's going to be reveals everywhere. That's the whole thing. There's little clips. There's all sorts of little papers, little mechanics. I love seeing just the pieces of frame, so you can die cut your own, making your own little frames, create scraps in here. I love seeing the paper. Then this was just about like taking different elements, different types of papers, and creating little pocketbooks. So there were components of this where Marlise is like, I didn't over embellish stuff because I wanted people to see like the mechanics of creating paper, creating pockets, adding vintage pages that you can create inside other little elements. Look at that. Beautiful with the tape, little pockets for tickets. So again, this could be a whole holiday journal where you're taking all sorts of very cool things, just using elements and adding inclusions into your book. So this little piece, so this little book, the back of that book tucks into this little pocket right here. See, so then that just becomes an inclusion on the page that you can open and close, or you can pull out. And I love the introduction of like vintage paper. So a lot of these are like some real vintage pages used with ideology. See, I love the combination of vintage, right? Little receipts, all sorts of real ephemera. Just a beautiful, beautiful book. Then we've got some wallpaper, again, more stitching, again, another one of those little books. So even if you were making these books, that's a book that would fit the tin as well. A little festive tin, fit beautiful. Very cool. Again, more layers. See, I just love this. I can't imagine the amount of time to do all this. Because just one piece, it's like layer, sew, layer, staple. But if this was your thing, to me, it's very therapeutic just to sit down and just build and layer and embellish. Again, there's more deco sheets on there. Paper dolls. Just what a fabulous thing. This has to do something. I feel something. I wonder if I can do this. Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I'm supposed to see. Oh, hold on. See, that's what I was telling you. Like, I almost ripped this open. This doesn't open this way. This, right? Yeah. Oh, I get it. Okay, take a look. See, I honestly don't know what it is. So this is one of those, like, because I felt it. I'm like,
yes, open it.
Well, this?
You said yes.
No, this doesn't open. This is sewn here, but it's this side that pulls back to reveal. Look at that little accordion pocket, because I saw this like thick piece on the back. So now you've got, oh, it's like a book within a book. So we have a book that went this way, and now we've got this piece that this opens this way, and then you have, I love that. Look at those pockets, right? That whole thing where those pockets are all connected in the center. You get that great accordion, and then you have all these little inclusions that come out with the tinsel. See, those are more of those tags. More of those tags that she put in the box. Beautiful to just include into all these little pockets.
Marley said you can pull it out and open it.
Pull this out?
I don't know.
I don't think so. I'm not going to. Oh, wait a minute. No, I don't think I can. No, I'm nervous. I'll just do this. If this is supposed to detach from the book, then tell me. I just don't see how, because it looks like it's sewn from the foundation. But it's so brilliant. I love the idea of that piece, that element that just opens up for your pockets. Then you have this whole piece of all of your elements for your book. This thing I do know comes out, so I understand that this is attached with elastic. So I do know that you could take out these little inserts, right? So if you're doing that kind of like a traveler's journal. So I understand that this part comes out and removable, but so many interactive pieces. It's just brilliant. That's what I was saying. Like, I find it incredibly fascinating when I picked this up. I didn't even open it, right? So, but I just knew, like, I was like, okay, this is going to wait to the end, because there's just so much to explore. And that's why I encourage you to watch, all the makers, but especially the bookmakers that go through all of the detail of every little piece. And many of them share the mechanics about why they would do something like this. So this takes it out, or like where Susie created the book where you can add things, or hey, how to create this kind of accordion by adhering the center of these pockets. Just brilliant, brilliant ideas. And I love how, especially we have two bookmakers really, and just how different their aesthetic is in their approach to creating books. It's so inspiring, fabulous. All right. So this one, like, seriously, this is sweet tooth heaven. So first of all, just can we just appreciate how freaking adorable this little candy card is? Tammy B, no doubt. Okay. Does it roll? Yes, it rolls. Okay, so before I get into the whole sweets of this, Tammy B, I'm telling you, like this just gave me goosies, and it made me smile, and it made me definitely want candy. So vignette boxes are the foundation. These are Idea-ology mini pulley wheels. These are metal. These are part of the everyday line. They have been. They probably won't be around much longer because people don't use them as much as I'd love them to. I love it. So the wheels are attached to the bottom of this wood box, painted, of course, adorable. Then it looks to me, Tammy, like you have two wood boxes, but you clearly altered a panel because it looks like you've got a couple of, maybe they're matchboxes, but little drawers to create this candy drawer. Now these look like little thimbles, Idea-ology thimbles, right? Or these could be caps of some sort that made little buckets. But look what she did to the candy, right? She's got the glittery candy canes, the little candy sticks with rock candy. And look at these. You see these rock candy sticks? Mica flakes, guys. Mica flakes that she put on toothpicks. So they're rock candy swizzle sticks, my jam. My favorite candy. And I know it's just sugar and it has no flavor. And that's just bring it to me from the source. I love it. And I prefer the blue ones, just so you know. Not the dark blue ones. That light, icy blue that will give my mouth just that perfect tint. But not Smurf blue. But yeah, I love it. So I love the rock candy.
2 vignette boxes and 2 match boxes.
Brilliant. Brilliant, brilliant. And then look, of course, adornment silverware. Leave it up to Tammy B. These are the knives, right? We saw the candle sconce that she did with the spoon and what she did with the fork. And these are the knives. And I love how she just used the enamel on the handles. Right? Oh my gosh. And then we have this whole candy shop. So now you've got a gumball machine out of a snow globe. Now this is last year's. So these are still available, right? I know some retailers have them. So if you like this wood base, and I would like it just for this one idea, it's brilliant. You can still find these. But this is the globe. I love how she put the baubles in there. They're like little gumballs. She used a hitch fastener as the knob. Then we've got all these little jars of confections using little sugar labels, more hitch fasteners. Look at those little peppermint drops back there. Oh my gosh, all the way around. It's just sweet overload. Oh my gosh. It is. It's so Disney. And look at the little garland wrapped around the pole, right? It's that little candy cart. This is kind of like the flower cart they have on Main Street that you'd see across from Carnation, but it's filled with candy. So see, maybe Disney will be inspired to do this. You should be making miniatures for them, Tammy. I'm telling you, for the windows. Look at that little sugary goodness right there. So cute. Unbelievable candy cart. Then the top, those are going to be the etc. trims. But that whole entire cart, I mean, well, first, like that's what it's going to look like. But how great to have such a charming display that just rolls across. So setting it on, you know, your mantle or a table, just, oh man, it's very cute. Yeah, put it on. I know. And especially, I like the fact, I mean, you can't see them because of my pork chop hands, but there's little handles here. I just like the fact that I can hold the handle. And
the flower cart was the inspiration.
See, Disney like-mindedness, awesome, Tammy B. Tammy. That's it. But see, look at that snowfall grit paste. This is what I was saying about all the different elements and how the makers use it, right? Snow is snow. It should be just dusty and movement and thick and thin. It doesn't have to go on. It can go on like icing if you want it even, but that's what I love about that product is it really gives you a wonderful, authentic look, but so freaking incredible. Oh, great way. See, she fussy cut that label from that paper and put it on wallpaper. Absolutely love it. It's really good. Do I want candy? Yes, I do. I do. Always. So good. Yeah, always. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant make. All right, I've got one more make to share with you. It's a doozy. It is a doozy from the brilliant mind of Paula. Now, I will preface this, that this thing, this massive thing, and I've already talked to Paul about this. This is a kit that she will be selling next month. And why she kitted it, her and Jay and her family kitted this, no way would I ever attempt this. When you see what's inside, like, this is months of kitting, guys. Paula sometimes does kits. She did a Halloween kit. She does Christmas. If you're interested, you need to go to her blog. Where's her blog? Well, she could either post a link or, again, go to the maker page, Paula Cheney. But you can sign up for an email list and you get emailed when the kits become available. I think it comes available like early November. They sell out quick. So If you want it, you have to commit because you get what you get. But for those of you that have kits, and I've seen many people in the chat that have purchased kits from Paula, you know, not only do you get the stuff, but you get like full color instructions, like the whole deal. But the whole point, I mean, I just want to do a shout out for the kit just because when she told me, oh yeah, this is the Make I kit for, I'm like, are you out of your mind? No way, but it's fabulous. So it is made of 3 different vignettes. These are all wood boxes, all covered beautifully. This slides off the top. So this is ruler ribbon, slides off the top. So that's the closure. Okay. I'm going to open it this way to start. It does have tiny lights. So let me just turn them on. Okay. You guys ready? Shut up. Are you? Come on. Like, I just, like, exactly. You just need like that choir singing, right? Okay. Are you going to be the choir? Yeah. Okay, here we go. You ready?
Ready.
There you go. I've never heard Mario sing, but there you have it. So here we go. The cool thing about this, so this is how it would be displayed. Sits upright, right? So it's actually made of the vignette divided box and then 2 divided drawers. This big divided box, this is actually retiring the end of this year. But it's such an amazing make because again, it's taking compartmental making to so many different levels. So the tiny lights, you can see just light up that window. And the window's got a piece of acetate in there that has been stamped, you guys, stamped with the trees. Then you've got, it's a shaker window, so it's got mica in there, mica flakes back there. Look at that beautiful tinsel wreath that has been alcohol inked. The bell, I mean, you could just go on and on. Look at the paper doll. Look at the drippy candles on the wood slice, right? Look at that little stool that she's sitting on, one of the vignette finials. Then you look up here, you've got this little scene of the deer, the trees, the snow, the wreath. Then you've got this one. You've got the house. So all these pieces, that's why I said, you're putting all this stuff in the kit, like even the little house. I'm sorry, Jay, you had to die cut all those houses. Like that's a little Paper Village die cut house. You've got the little wreath. I love the postage stamp chimney. Again, little tree. Then down here, you've got another little box of lights, right? And these lights you can just take and turn it on. So there's little tiny lights in here. So now it's like a little drawer of decorations, right? Isn't that just so when it's sitting there open, you've got this little compartment drawer that can just tip out and you've got your garland, your lights, like you're just decorating the town. It's, every freaking detail is just, it's mind-boggling. It just is. Then you've got this confectionery corner. So look how she took that. That's one of the pieces of ephemera and how she turned it to create that little sconce on the top. And I love these. Look at how she chopped up the candies. You see right there where my thumb is? That's just taking the candy sticks and chopping that up and putting little peppermints in the jar. The detail of the little Foundry Wax. I'm guessing that's Foundry Wax. Maybe it's alloy. It looks like Foundry Wax. But the gold detailing on the jars of the candy canes and the string and all of the little color confectionaries. And then you've got the tree down here and the tree stand. Seriously, like, that's what I told her. I'm like, you're including a tree stand? She's like, all this stuff. I'm like, no way. That kit better be like $500. It's crazy. I doubt it will be, but unbelievable. Just the amount of pieces. And then we have the snowman, painted, of course, glittered, sparkly. The thimble, look at those little logs, mini logs in there. Sure, doing some pruning. You see, we love a good stick. We love a good log. I love that. There's a little painted wreath. Now, on the top, can you see there's a little bell back there? There, it's moving. It actually hangs if I held this upright. And then look at this. That's one of the toadstools covered in velvet, you guys. I mean, come on. Look at that. So the toadstools that are part of idea-ology that we've seen in the everyday line and we have them for Halloween, cover them in velvet, and look how magical they are at Christmas. With the candy and the die cuts, just every idea is just one brilliant thing after the next. So a truly magical make, just certainly a magical make to end the makes of idea-ology Christmas 2022. Certainly just fabulous. And all the makers just did such an incredible job, right? At every level, because when you see it, it's so different, it's so amazing, and everyone can just take an idea and take it to really whatever whatever level they want. I think that's going to be the most important thing is to kind of see whatever level. So
I have to go feel that toadstool.
yeah, do you?
I have.
Okay, well you go for it, because I'm just going to pause for a second just to move my legs before I get into the demo, because for those of you that are just here to see the makes, here, I'll hand this to you so you can, he wants to feel, be very careful, set your phone down, there you go. Absolutely amazing. So that wraps up Ideology Christmas and the amazing make. So shout out to the makers. I am going to stay and do a demo. I've got a bunch of stuff lined up just to give you some ideas, some surprises, of course, some ideas of how to do ideology, but so incredible, honestly, to really see how these things come to life. That's what I was saying. I love that about ideology. I love seeing that at the very beginning when I'm showing you packages of stuff, it is just stuff. And as makers, right, no one should ever be intimidated about seeing the lives. And I read that a lot on social media, and honestly, it's very disheartening to me. And I think to the makers as well, because no one is making to intimidate. We're making to inspire. And instead of feeling that you're intimidated about that, you should feel inspired by how that works, right? What can you take away from any of these makes? What inspires you, right? Me, I'm just doing a panel and a clipboard. I'm not going to be like, well, I don't want to do that because, Paula's made this wardrobe. Great, that's what she did, and I want to do that. We all have something to contribute in the world of creativity, and I just always want to remind that, especially coming off of something so overwhelming. Mario loves the velvet. Something so overwhelming when you see these makes. They are magical, they are amazing, but I also love seeing all the different levels, from the boxes to the gift bags, to the little tin of cards, to the journals, to the vignettes. All of those things are what should really be going into your mind of saying, okay, I don't know what, but I got to make something. And that's really how I was feeling. Like, I don't care that I don't have the time that I wanted to do. It's not going to derail me from making. And even if you have those individual ideas, like Zoe's Christmas charcuterie, you can take those individual ideas and still put them together in a very festive, displaying way to celebrate the season. So that's really what I want to remind you of. And now we're going to demo, because why not?
Again.
My God, we've only been doing this for 3 hours. I mean, seriously,
Oh, that's it.
we got time. We got time. Okay, so many of these I've done before, but it's just worth repeating. These are going to be really quick. They're nothing going to be extensive, but it is important because maybe you've seen it, maybe you haven't. Some of these you might have seen, and I can assure you there might be one or two that you haven't. But this first one is just talking about Bottlebrush trees, right? And how easy they are to color. And you can color them with a variety of things. And the Bottlebrush trees come in different sizes. This happens to be the medium one from the pack. You can use any kind of spray ink for these. And I recommend a spray ink. It could be a stain. It could be an oxide. It could be anything. It could even be mica stains. But something fluid is going to be the easiest. Doing it with an ink pad and rolling it around, not going to work. But could you use things like water and food coloring? Sure, right? Or Kool-Aid pack in water? Sure. Any type of fluid coloring. Now, obviously, a spray ink is going to be great. So if you wanted brighter colors, you could use dilutions, or you could use gloss sprays. But I really like the World of Distress, and I also like the fact of creating kind of this ombre blend of trees, where the tree has this fade, and it's super easy to do, and it only requires a color, whatever color you're going to choose to use, okay? So when I do trees, it is the one thing that I'm going to glove up for. Now I'm going to try to glove up over all of the ringety bling, but it is important because of how I like to do trees. I like to do trees by hand. I like to squish them around. And so I'm just going to put some gloves on. You don't have to glove up if you don't want to do that, but I'm going to. Perfect gloves, right? All right. So super simple, right? It's going to take something to spray in. I should probably put down my media mat, but I'll do that in a second because I'm already in it. So I'll put down my mat later. I've got a paper towel, okay? I've got a tree, and I've got this little cup of water. Now, this cup is not totally full. It's about halfway full of water. And here's why. Because we want to create a fade. So if you don't want to create a fade, you don't need the water step. You can just spray and be on your way. That's totally fine. So let's just do a color. I don't know. We'll do like evergreen bough. This is a beautiful color. I might even throw in a little bit of frosted juniper mica stain, because this will have like a little bit of shimmer in there. And I've laid them on their side, so see the mica pearl is there. Okay. So I'll just do a little bit of I'll just do a little bit of both of these. So what I like to do is I like to be able to hold the tree. That's where I want the gloves, because I feel if I do that, I can spray closer and I can turn the tree, right? So are you going to spray your fingers? Yes. But if you don't have gloves on, then you're like spraying and trying to roll it. Whatever works for you, okay? Then I'm going to go in with just a little bit of this mica as well. So that's the color tree that we have. Beautiful on its own, okay? Next, what I want to do, I'm just going to wipe off those little schnozzles, okay? I'm just going to take the tree and I'm going to dip it into the water and I'm going to take it out, okay? Now I want to have a paper towel. Let me grab another one over here. Just a dry paper towel, and I'll start kind of just squishing this around. You can see already that by dipping it in the water, it's starting to remove some of that color because these are water reactive. So the water, and then just using a paper towel, is what's going to start taking the color out. And once you're happy with that, you can let it dry, right? So there is our blend. It couldn't be easier, right? You get just that soft transition. When this dries completely, it will fluff back up, but that's how easy it is to create a tree that just has a transition of color. You spray it on, you dip it in water, and if you don't want that, if you want it to be solid, leave it, right? You do you, leave it like that. But I think it is important to know that when you're working with these colors, and move the water out of the way again, it's just fun that you have the ability to create so many different effects. And if you, let's say you took too much color out, right? Maybe you took too much color out and you're like, oh, I don't really like it. I really liked it before. Great. If you liked it before, dip it again or spray it again. You could add color and take color away as much as you want, because remember, as we talked about at the very beginning, the woodland trees are made out of sisal, a natural material. So I did some peeled paint, stain, then I did a little bit of tree lot mica. Now I'm going to do a little bit of oxide. All right, so oxide is going to make this look a little bit more opaque, a little creamy. You'll see in a second, but it's still beautiful. I do love this. This is bundled sage. So see how it just made the tree a little light. Now here's what's interesting about woodland trees. As soon as you wet them, like the little fibers that were kind of tucked away, you get some wild ones. You have to give it a haircut. It's like a chia pet. It just kind of comes to life a little bit. So anytime you add the ink or stain, it does. The trees just go a little crazy. So here we're going to just do a quick dip, paper towel, just to kind of see, because this one, maybe I want this to be a little softer. So look at that. Look at that. I'm going to do a little bit just at the top, because you don't have to dip exactly the same. And there's our tree. Needs a little trimming, right? Trim the tree, but see how beautiful that is for the color. And when this dries, it's going to take on so many cool properties. It's going to have ink. It's going to have a little shimmer from mica, and that little kind of creaminess from the bundled sage oxide is going to also dry that way too. So really cool, really simple, super easy. I'm going to give you this so I don't spill that. Yeah, thanks. I'm going to just take my gloves off. That's the trees, and I'll show you like ideas of what to do with trees, right? Obviously we've seen what we can do with the trees from a gluing it in a vignette thing, but when you're creating trees, let me just move this stuff down. We'll kind of move it off to the side. Okay, what can we do with trees? Well, trees could be a lot of things. Trees could be used many, many ways, and they could be part of something, or whoop, there we go. They could be part of something, or they could be something different. So here I've got a little wood box that's just full of trees, sticks, wood slices. This is what I like to do for my holiday making. I like to just create a bunch of stuff. And you can see I've got trees that are glittered. I've got trees that are mica flakes. I have trees that are, this is just oxide. So you can see the difference in the color. That's a little inking, little evergreen bough, but this is evergreen bough ink and oxide. So you get a different aesthetic. You see what I mean? Like the color is not as intense when you do oxide, but I like to have my trees at the ready, if you will. Okay, why? Because I like to do different things with the trees. This one, I just tied it to a toy car. All right, take the tree, add some mica or glitter. Now, anytime I put mica or glitter onto a tree, I like collage medium. That's just my glue of choice. I just take a little bit, smear it out, put it on the craft mat and use my fingers to do it. I don't like to go back in because your finger will turn green. Because remember, these are water reactive. So even though the trees are dry, when you put wet glue on there, you're going to get some of that green ink, and you don't want to contaminate your pot of that. So just take a scoop, smear it out on your craft mat and go for it. But here it's just tied onto a car. Take a look at these guys. So cute, right? You can make them any size, a little jute, and they're just hot glued to the top. So I'm not going to bust out the windows and tie it on. Just a little jute and hot glue that on. That's just fun. And you can find vintage cars at the flea market, antique stores, eBay, whatever. I just think they're hilarious to do. Or if you find like a little truck, right? You just take the little trees, little tiny trees that you do, and just stick them in. So here I've got a little tree truck. How cute is that? And that's actually a little dump truck. This little crank opens and you just crank it up and it just dumps it. So cute. But I love this truck. So these are fun things that can sit out just for making trees. Again, well, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with the trees. Well, put it on something. It doesn't have to be a full-on idea-ology, 100% make. It really doesn't. Now, the stands. We saw that Vicky did the stands in colors. These are really fun to color. And I did a demo on this. Actually, I think it's Christmas, maybe part 4 that I did a demo on. This is really nice because you can take the tree stands, you can paint them if you wanted to add some colors. This one I did a little candied apple because I wanted that perfect bright red. And then after it dried, I went in with collage medium as my adhesive. Again, I demoed this. Add distress embossing glaze and fired brick and made this kind of vintage enamel tree stand. Cool, right? Then we got these guys. These are Halloween. We talked about these, the Halloween urns. Great for Halloween, great for pumpkins, great for bones, great for all of that. But then I used the urn and put a little foundry wax on the urn and added that for the tree because I think that when you add a little bit of gold metallic, it creates a beautiful look. Could you use foundry wax on the tree? I don't see why you couldn't. This is natural sisal, so you could try to heat it. So I could imagine kind of brushing it on there and heating it. It might look beautiful, like little metallic stardust. You can use foundry wax on anything heat stable. And because these trees are natural, they're not plastic, you could certainly try. I think it would be cool. I'd love to see that. So there's a little foundry wax just to take something kind of Halloween and make it more Christmas. But I think it's perfect for a way to display a tree. It doesn't have to be a tree stand. It could be a car. It could be a truck. It could be an urn. It could be anything. But that's the idea for the tree. And as you saw, like the wood slices, right? The wood slices are very easy. You can just take the base of the tree. This is what comes with it. You just essentially twist them. So you just break that little glue, twist back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. There you go. Then it will come off. Then you can just take an awl, or if you have a little craft drill, you can drill it and then that, or you can just snip that off and hot glue it. Now, if you are going to cut the trees, okay, note to self, if you're a note taker, write this down. If you are going to cut the trees, use a wire cutter to cut the trees, not your scissors, because these are made with steel wire. That's what keeps all that stuff together. It has to be a really firm wire. If you take your tonic scissors to these, you will nick the blade of your scissor and essentially ruin your scissors. So if you're going to cut the trees to make them any shorter, or you want this off, wire cutters only, because this is wire, a steel gauge wire, okay? Really important. I learned the hard way on that. So that's an idea of what you can do with the trees. I just saw someone say, how fun would it be to be in my head? It's a frightening place, but I appreciate that. I think it's nice that you think that, but it is a frightening place. Okay, I'm going to get into, no, I'm going to do it from here. I'm having fun right here. I'm living large, like working on the wood surface. So here we've talked about baubles, right? And you've seen in the muffin tin the beauty of idea-ology baubles and how they make the most perfect Christmas ornaments. But like I said, these things, although they only come out at Christmas, you'll want to stock up on them if you like the look, because look at how beautiful they are in spring colors, right? For Easter, just to put in an Easter make, or maybe you wanted to do something in pinks and blues for a baby make. Maybe you're doing something for a baby shower or newborn. You can use softer colors of alcohol ink to create this. Or maybe you just like vintage, right? This is just mushrooms, just mushroom alcohol ink on baubles, and look at the difference where it goes from this to this. Right? So these would be great for a beach scene. They look like pearls. They're super stunning to create a different look. And that's why I wanted to kind of do this demo right on the back of idea-ology. Like I've said, I've done this before, but it's buried in another video. And I think this is a simple connection to say, why do I need more than one pack if I'm not going to do ornaments? Well, maybe you don't if you're not going to use this either, but if you are, it is a great way to incorporate this. So how do you do them? It's really quite simple. I like to have a paper towel as a landing strip. I want to have some type of cup. Depending on how many you're going to do, you might want a bigger container, you might have an ink thing, but I will tell you this, that when you use an ink color, it will coat your container. So can you have like one container for all of your inks? You could if you don't care about contaminating your colors, but if you're worried about contaminating your colors, then my advice is get something more reusable, like these little portion cups. You can reuse them year after year, but then you could have like a set for pink, a set for blue, because you'll see how it does coat it in color. Then you're going to take your baubles. I just happen to have mine already out of a pack because I do have bags of baubles all over. I'll just show you how to do it. Just put a few in there, whatever you want to do to ink them. Doesn't take much. And let's say we want to do a patina color. This is a beautiful blue color, but you can mix and match. You can do a little of this, a little of that. Create your own custom colors. That's fine. So we're going to take alcohol ink. We're going to take some of that ink and you're just going to squirt some of it in. How much? I don't know. Just put it in. Just do it. Put the cup over the top. Make sure you're holding it. Maybe you want to tape it. But I just like to kind of give it a little spin. I don't shake it up and down. I like to try to spin it around a little bit. Because what's happening, you can see they're rolling around in that ink. Do you see that? And then when you open it, it's done. It's that simple. They are done. Now, if you're happy with it, you can pour them out on the paper towel and let them dry. If you want them more intense, maybe you want the color a little deeper than that. You want it a little bit more deep patina. These are translucent inks, so the more layers you add, the deeper the color gets. It will never change the color, meaning patina could never be a dark denim blue, but it could be a more intense patina, okay? A more intense version of that color. So I'm just mixing that around. See? Just a little more intense of that color. Now, if you want them vintage, and when I say vintage, I mean grungy, right? There you go, James Bond, shaken not stirred. You're right, Pauline. If you want them a little bit more grungy like this, where they kind of have a little dirt to them, you've heard, I'm sure, many times in the lives and from the makers, we talk about mushroom alcohol ink because this is just the color of happy if you love grunge. That's all that's on these is mushroom, okay? A little bit of mushroom over your colored baubles, just going to give it a nice little vintage look. So my alcohol ink is drying in here, so I got to just get that going real quick. So I only want to put just like a drop or two in here. I don't want to put too much because I want to keep that color. So I'm just going to do like a quick shake. See, I can either have it splotchy or I just kind of keep going. This is kind of a little combo of like shake and stir, I suppose, huh? Ah, look at that. Look at that wonderful patina. So once they're done, this is really important, then you need to take this and dump them out on a paper towel because you saw before where they were starting to stick to the cup. Alcohol ink contains a resin, and the resin is what attaches the color permanently to a non-porous surface. If you let them dry in the cup, you can get them out. You just have to kind of break them away, and maybe the color is going to stick to the sides or itself and peel away from the baubles. So while the ink is wet, I put it onto a paper towel so they can dry independent of one another. Again, if they dry together, they'll stick together, but they will dry and you can break them apart. So I'm not going to say they'll stay sticky, but you got to let that resin dry. A paper towel works for me just because it's got like little pillows that keep things here, but you could dump them out on anything. There is a little bit of ink that will transfer, so that's why I prefer a paper towel. Then these cups, I would just stack them together and they become that color's cup or any color close to it. I don't have one for like every shade, but I have like a green cup, a pink cup, whatever that is. You get the idea, right? But then you have these baubles that are really just, they're quite beautiful. So let me just open these up. They're not totally dry yet. Normally I would, again, if you followed me, I'd take a little fan. Where'd it go? Over here. And I would dry these quickly with a fan, but let's speed it up. Okay. That's our color. Look at that. So simple. Now you can glue them onto things, do whatever you want with the baubles, but that is really the magic of baubles, not only for Christmas, but for vintage, for beach, or obviously for spring.
They really look like all those old ones that you buy.
They look like mercury glass, but they're not glass, and that's really what I like about it, is that it's not glass, so I don't have to worry about it. Okay, so from Baubles, we go to Bubbles. I told you this demo thing is quick. I mean, I know, but it's like they're super easy ideas. So Bubbles, these only come out at Halloween, and they are different from Baubles because Baubles are pearl, and these are translucent, little translucent acrylic bubbles, if you will. Now, this was something that I love to do with the bubbles because you can make like a little bubble bath kind of thing. I like the look of them because they have that clear aesthetic to them. Okay, but for Christmas, I also love the fact that you can make snowballs, and you saw that in some of the makes, right? Tammy made candy out of them as well. Paula made snowballs, but I also like that you can make a little barrel of snowballs. And yes, I glued them to the side on purpose because I think, you know, when I'm setting something down, I like the fact that they often spill out. So I do glue a few onto the side that are just level to the bottom. So that's just me, right? But if you're putting it next to something, it's kind of fun. But all of these things work in the barrel. Now this is a barrel that we have in the everyday line, but the barrel is very cool because the barrel could be used, as you see, for bubbles, for flowers, for toadstools, for pumpkins, and for the medium tree. It fits perfect. But could it also fit the large tree, people ask? Yes, it can. It fits perfect. So you can put that in the barrel. I just do a styrofoam ball, remove the base, styrofoam ball is your jam, stick that in and you're good to go. For the snowballs, I wanted them in the barrel, but I didn't want my barrel to be brown because I wanted it to be more wintry. So I just used a little distress paint, dry brush it on there, and good to go. Super, super simple when it came to creating this. Then when I add the bubbles, I just glue them down. I glue them, what you're going to see with glossy accents. And to fill in the gaps, I just used mica flakes. So you can see the little mica flakes right there. They're just kind of, I put a little glossy accents in between all the openings, sprinkle mica flakes, and it's like a fill in the blanker. But great, right? A nice little winter bucket of snowballs. So let's talk about how do you make the snowballs. They're easy. Well, I'm sure everyone's going to make them different. I make it how I make it, and that's that. All right. Let me just clear a little path. I'm going to grab a glove. Hey, Mark, could you do me a favor? In that top right drawer, the brown drawer, a little flat paintbrush. I think I threw it in there last night. It should be right there on the top. You see a little flat one? No, it should be black handle, flat. Nope. Yep. Thanks. I'll just show you that. Okay? Because I think that's going to be, it just depends on how you guys want to do this. But so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to put on a glove just to show you, because when I do snowballs, I just make a lot of them. So here's how I do it. Okay? I have a gross hand that I'm going to do this with. I have rock candy in a container, and I have glossy accents. Okay? Glossy accents is from Ranger. It's great, little clear. And I have a brush. Okay? So when you work with this, you can put this anywhere. Like, again, you can work on a media mat, whatever, but I'm just for the sake of the demo, I'm not even going to bother. So I'm going to take just some clear, we'll start even with a big one. Okay? Here's why I do a glove. So what I would do is I'll put some glossy accents out on, of course it's dried up because I was using it last night. Little wire. See, I always have a wire handy when I'm demoing. Clean that out with just a little bent wire. Don't use a pin. A pin will often pierce the little schnozzle. So just squirt some glossy accents on a tray. Tap that to get that out. And then with a glove on, I just take a brush and I start to paint. And while I'm painting, I'm literally rolling this through my gloved fingers, and it's coating this in glossy accents. So I don't have to paint the entire thing. Most of it's happening from the glove. Drop it into the glitter, roll it around in the snow, and keep going. Next one, a little dip of the brush, and you'll see that when you do this, you'll end up with so much glossy accents on your glove that half the time you don't even have to dip a brush in. But this is what I was saying. Your glove holds on to those slippery little suckers, okay, because it's got glossy accents. The glossy accent starts to get pretty tacky. You see how slippery it is? Drop it in, roll it around. Get another one, put it in the glove. See, it's super fast, super, super fast. So these could be, if you wanted them to be candy, you could roll them in that different color of glitter, right? Maybe you want these to be, and you could alcohol ink these before if you wanted to, or you can just roll them in colored glitter, completely up to you. But yeah, super simple. So that's really how I do. And then this, see, because I don't like glossy accents on my fingers at all, because you lose the sense of touch, I'm done. And then that just is going to clean off with water. Just hand that off to you. Thanks. And then this, as long as you wipe it off while it's wet, it will come off. Doesn't leave anything. And now you have snowballs. So simple, right? Super, super easy. And you can, add them to whatever it is that you wanted to create with them. You can put them in a barrel, you can put them on a tree, you can put them on the other side of the makes. But as you've seen the makers use them, I thought that a demo seeing how quick these things are, so simple, right? But again, these are only at Halloween. And often people are like, oh, but I want the snowball things for Christmas. Well, they have to make sure at Halloween you get these. And these also make great ornaments. I know last year Paula created beautiful alcohol ink ornaments with them as well. So it's completely up to you whether you want to ink them. If you're going to tint them, I would alcohol ink them first and not alcohol ink over the glitter, because to me, I think it dulls it down a little bit, but you could try it, whatever's going to work for you. All right. Can you roll them in embossing glaze and then heat them? You could try that. I think it'd be challenging to melt it evenly and keep it rolling, but hey, you might want to try it. So the last thing I'm going to share with you is this. Okay. This inspired me. I love the idea of it. I love that it's great fringe. It has a great garland look to it. And like I said, I really wanted tinsel for a long time, but more importantly, vintage tinsel. And why? Because I've always been inspired by seeing vintage tinsel elements at Christmas. But more than anything, when you look at vintage tinsel trees, and while you can't make big trees, you can certainly make little trees out of tinsel. And I wanted to show you how simple it is to make little tinsel trees. And you can make them in any color, and they're very simple. You can put them in snow globes, you can put them anywhere you put the other trees, but you just make them with this. And this thing that I said, you get 4 yards of all of this. You can make a ton of trees and make them in beautiful little colors, right? They're just cute. They're just super fun. Okay. So some things that I found, because I played around many ways to do it, and I just wanted to share the easiest way that I thought would be to make these little trees, is you're going to want a sharp pair of scissors. Now, as much as I love my tonic snips, I'm using the shears that I do for tonic. So these are normally for fabric or thread, but I don't sew. So I do use them for things that I want a very sharp edge, but you want sharp scissors, whatever they happen to be. Use what you have. You're going to want a pair of tweezers, because you need to hold on to this little thing. I use my squeezers that I have from Sizzix, the inverted tweezer. They're super strong, and that makes it easy. A little paintbrush, some colors of alcohol ink, whatever colors you want, a little palette, and if you're going to clean your brush in between colors, just a little isopropyl alcohol to clean your brush, and a cup to do it. Okay, that's it. So what I did for these little trees, they're so fun and so easy to do, is I cut off about 1 inch of the tinsel. Now, even though this is wired, it's not the same wire as woodland tree, so you can use a scissor, no problem, because it's just thin wire, okay? Different than the woodland trees. But about 1 inch, because that's the height of the tree I wanted. So obviously, if you wanted your tree taller, you would cut this longer, okay? You can make whatever height trees you want. You can make them all different heights if you want to. But the messiest part of this whole thing is not the inking, like you would think. It's the trimming of the tree, because this little stuff, once it comes loose, it is this static charged nightmare. But that's all right, because Mario has a trick to cleaning it. He vacuums it. He, like, after I'm done, I'm like, hey, clean up aisle 3. And he just comes in with the vacuum, and that's it. So I put a little alcohol in here. I just squeezed a little iso just in case I wanted to do a couple of different colors. But first, we're going to trim the tree. So let me just try doing it on the tray, Mario. Maybe it'll all stick to the tray.
No worries.
Who knows?
That's fun.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is, after I cut the piece, I'm just going to take the scissors and I'm going to just angle cut it, right? So as I'm cutting, all I'm doing is I see the center of this wire, and I'm going to leave the bottom the width that it is, but I'm just going to cut to a point. So I'm just going to cut, I'm going to turn, I'm going to cut, I'm going to turn, and you just try to hold on to it. You'll get the hang of it. It's really not, there's not a science to it, guys. You'll just be able to see that after you make like 2 or 3 turns, it looks like a tree. You might need to go in and, trim off a wild one, That's why I said if you have little sharp scissors, then you can make smaller cuts. Also, I found like if I have one, see that little guy hanging up there? I just go the other way because I'll catch it in the back of the scissor, and that's it. So, whoop, you made a tree. I mean, it couldn't be easier. It's just that simple. So, is there a certain direction? No, you just do it.
Come on.
But you can.
That's so easy.
It's so easy, but so fun to.
I could even do that.
To create these little. I just love the idea of the tinsel trees, and sometimes you have to do a couple rounds because you think you got it, and then you turn it a certain way, and you're like, "Whoa, I missed this whole side." Yep. Another tree, right? Super easy to cut, and this is what you get. So this might be great tinsel that you can sprinkle on stuff, right? I know Paul has used it to sprinkle onto the trees too. So this stuff that comes off is also really great to add to the trees. But then how do we color them? How do we get them all these great little colors? Well, I'll tell you what I did and what didn't work. And the first time was like, I'm just going to drip alcohol ink on there. That'll be good. That didn't work for me. I found when I dripped alcohol ink on it, I put too much ink on it, and it just took away the sparkleness. Maybe it's the resin in the ink. I'm not quite sure what it was, but it might have just been something that I think that took away the whole sparkle look. So just for the sake of shock value, let's do pink, right? Let's do Fiesta. Let's do something crazy with the color. So here's where the squeezers come in. So I have my tree, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the bottom section, right? Just kind of, normally I wouldn't do this in my hand because I'm not going to because they're really sharp. I just squeeze them open. I go through the middle bottom of the tree and I let go. So that's what it is. You essentially just grab it. So you're kind of grabbing right through the tinsel. See, so you're not really holding anything flat. It's just, to me, it's the easiest way. Then take your alcohol ink, and you can put as much as you want. Normally I like to work on the glass because the alcohol ink does go through the deli paper, but it'll clean off this enamel tray. It's not a problem. So I would just put out just a drop or so of the ink. I'm going to pick up the ink with a brush, and I'm just going to paint it on. And now I can just flip it over because I have my tweezers. And just like we did before, we want to paint it at just different angles, if you will, because you want to make sure that you kind of get all aspects of the tinsel. I tried this with a blending tool, with the alcohol ink tool, with the felt. The felt stuck to this tinsel. Oh my gosh, it was like the thing was covered in spider webs. It was just wrapped in all the little fibers of the felt. So a paintbrush and tweezers, that I felt was the easiest. And you could go back and add as much as you want. Then, while that's drying for a second, simply clean your brush in the alcohol. Again, just isopropyl alcohol. We can wipe that off, and we could be ready for another color. So I wipe it off till the color is gone from there. And then our tree, done. That simple. So now you have see, you have just a little tiny tinsel tree. And how do you attach it? I just did a drop of hot glue and set it right in the hot glue. It's just that simple. So you could go just, oh, it's so much fun. Let's do a little mermaid. Oh, actually I want to do a little pistachio. That'll be fun. Let's do that. Okay. So first thing I want to do is I'm just going to get my tree attached to the squeezers. That's what I like about that. I don't have to I like the inverted tweezers because I don't have to sit there with constant pressure. They're doing the job. Again, a little alcohol ink. Take the brush, pick up the color, and just dab, dab, dab. Now the lighter colors are going to produce a lighter tint, but that's the other nice thing. So could you do mushroom on this? Yes, actually I want this to be a little mix because I knew I wanted to do mermaid. So there you have it, right? Let's do a little bit of that too. That's a little mermaid. Little mermaid, little pistachio. Ooh, there you go. I think Jan Shirkus would like this color. Yeah, it's a pretty, pretty color. Again, just using the brush because I don't want to overdo it. I still want it to be sparkly. Look at that color. Isn't that perfect? Great little color. Again, drop, clean the brush. And when your alcohol gets too sludgy, it just depends. If I'm going to go darker colors, I'm good with this alcohol, right? But when you're done with it, my advice is take that paper towel that you've been cleaning, shove it into that cup, turn the cup, and now your cup is clean and ready to go, and all your alcohol is gone, and you can throw that away because the alcohol evaporates. It's not combustible, it's not flammable, it's just alcohol. But now I've got the same cup. I don't have to worry about doing anything else. So there we go. How do we do, Mario? So fun. It's just fun. So imagine the forest of fun you can create with these. So this is just a normal silver, and then there's mushroom, and then just playful colors. I just think it's great. I think it just makes it an enjoyable way to approach ideology. That's what it was all about.